Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Berry from the Trentonian. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate everyone being here. The rough schedule is up on the whiteboard over there. We're going to do north first, then south, then east, then west, and then the mayors go on, assuming we can stick to this time schedule. So the first, we have Algernon Ward and Marge Caldwell-Wilson for the North Ward. Our moderator is Alvin Haywood. The Trentonian wants to thank the school for putting this on and hosting this. This is great. Really awesome work. And from us, it's been a fantastic partnership working with the school on everything. Anybody that's standing in the back, please take some seats. According to the fire code, we can't have people standing. There are overflow seating in the classrooms that's still open. There are still seats available out here. So I'm going to turn it over to Alvin. We're going to get rolling with the North Ward debate. And thank you all for coming.
Good evening and welcome to the debate between candidates for council and office of mayor of Trenton. Our debate is sponsored by the Trentonian and Mercer County Community College. Can everyone hear me? Very good. The entire event is being live streamed and will be available to view later on www.trentonian.com and on Mercer County Community College's YouTube channel. We ask you to be silent in terms of your phones. So would you now turn off your phones? All right, I'm gonna do you like I do my classes. Please. Drug phones, I'm just kidding. Turn off the phones, please. And be courteous to your fellow attendees. Do we agree to do that? Excellent, excellent. Now, is it off?
Thank you.
All right. Within our approximate 3-hour allotted time, we will have 5 separate debates, which will cover a number of top topics important to Trenton voters. Debates for each of the 4 wards and the mayoral race will take place separately in the following order: North Ward, South Ward, East Ward, West Ward, and finally, the mayoral race. Questions have been generated by the Trentonian staff and other stakeholders filtered through debate organizers. Candidates were assigned speaking order via coin toss between the debate, or before the debate. Both candidates in each debate will give a 2-minute introduction about what they plan to do with their first days in office, and then have an opportunity to answer the same set of questions. The first candidate to answer each question will be given 2 minutes. Their opponent will then have 90 seconds to respond. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Are we clear? Very good. Tonight's timekeeper will be Penny Ray. He will show a yellow card when candidates have 10 seconds left and a red card when time is up. So, let us begin. And based on the coin toss, I believe, Mr. Ward, candidate Ward, you are number 1. So, what foremost priority do you plan to accomplish within the first 100 days of office?
Good afternoon, Trentonians. In my first 100 days, of course, no one should approach something as important as management of the city of Trenton like a bull in a china shop. So the first 100 days, I'm going to spend my time meeting with my colleagues to craft a vision and an agenda, and of course with the mayor to work together to see what he has planned, and we'll have an approach, a vision, an action plan within the first 100 days. And then I plan to meet with all of the department heads to hear from them what their challenges are, what their vision is, and to comb the budget in particular, because that would be my area of responsibility. Also in the first 100 days, I'm going to meet with all the constituents that I can to listen, not to talk, to listen to what their individual problems are so that we can craft an action plan to deal with those issues. I'm pretty familiar with what they are right now. After all, I've grown up here in Trenton, spent my life here in Trenton, and I know what the issues are because I live them every day. But I like to get with the people to refine that vision, to refine my plan so that we can put it into shape, to put it into a legislative shape and an action plan in conjunction with the mayor. I'm also going to spend some time getting some sleep. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm going to work very hard to try to be the kind of representative that will make you proud, that you will finally say something's being done here in North Trenton. I'm not going to promise you that in 100 days I'm going to solve all the problems in Trenton. That's not possible. But I will have a plan, and that everybody will be familiar with it, and we'll have everybody on board, and we'll move forward. That's my first 100 days.
Candidate Caldwell, may I?
First of all, I want to thank the Trentonian and for all of you coming to this debate, because I think it's just so critical that you understand where we're coming from. My first 100 days, of course, I would obviously want to get to know my new colleagues on council and what their goals are. I also have said through this whole campaign that I would like the new mayor and his cabinet to come to the table with council so that we can come to the middle road and perhaps we can equally have some positive goals. I plan to push my agenda when I have a conversation with the mayor and with council, and my agenda is a 6-point plan. It's controlling reckless spending, holding absentee landlords accountable for neglected and vacant properties, ensuring safe drinking water, offering bilingual training for all city departments, working to reopen the North Ward Library, and demanding better security in high crime areas. And that means sitting down and taking a look at the crafted budget that the new mayor will put together so that we can understand what his priorities are and what our priorities are. We also need to have a conversation with the new police director and the possibility of having a conversation with our governor to return our capital city aid so that we can hire more police, and then we can have a discussion about foot patrols and citizen patrols, and more training and more sensitivity training for our police department. Holding absentee landlords accountable for their actions, which I tried to pass an ordinance many years ago to increase the fines. I intend to resurrect that and try to get my colleagues to work with me so that we can do this, so that we can have these people respect our city and our citizens and not turn it into a garbage dump. I plan to work with the Trenton Education Association regarding the school budget, so I will be the fiscal watchdog, and I will work with ETC to open up the East Trenton Library. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next question is for candidate Caldwell. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard remains one of the city's most challenged areas. What can be done to salvage that part of the city, and how will you work toward that goal?
I have actually been working for the past 8 years with the citizens that live in Martin Luther King Boulevard. One of the issues we have in the city is that we don't have enough home ownership. We have more renters than we do have owners. They tend to move around. It's difficult to nail them down and talk to them about taking care of their surrounding homes, their gardens, the streets, and working with the children. So I think that hopefully, if we can work up a budget, we will be able to provide additional services to those families that need help with their children. Because I talk to the young people on the street, and their response is that the police department doesn't talk to them, they yell at them, they threaten them. And I think that we need to change that dialogue, and we need to assure our young people and our unemployed people that are hanging out on the streets there that there is hope. But we need an administration and a council that's going to work together, because if all of us don't work together, nothing is going to change.
Thank you. Candidate Ward, your response?
It's interesting that my opponent talks about working on abandoned houses and fixing the streets. Well, what most of you don't know that there's a resolution on the desk of City Council as we speak that was tabled to open the libraries in the East Ward. These were tabled. This was part of the budget that was laid before the present City Council, and they didn't see fit to pass the thing. So it's interesting we're talking about doing it in the future when, in fact, they could have voted at the last City Council meeting to do exactly that. So let's proceed from a basis of forthrightness and honesty to make sure that the people are fully informed about what's going on. And don't think if it hasn't happened in 8 years now, it's going to happen in the next 100 days.
Thank you. Now, if you'll recall, folks, if you don't mind, we only have a limited amount of time, so you can say amen, but we're going to keep on moving, all right?
Do I get to rebut?
Amen. Do you believe, this is for Candidate Ward.
Oh, I don't get to rebut? It wasn't a resolution, it was actually a bond ordinance. And the city gave us this bond ordinance, and there was not sufficient information attached to that bond ordinance for $18 million to tell me that this money would be spent wisely. There were certain things in that, but until they gave me, because I am not going to be a foolish spender, I'm not going to just, okay, and green light bond ordinances, because this is your children's future you're talking about. When you spend bonds, you're putting the city into debt. You have to make sure that that money is being directed to the appropriate places. And there was not enough information on that. And I had asked the administration to give me the information so that I have the ability to make a just decision on the part of my constituents that I'm not spending unwisely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Candidate Ward. The next question. Do you believe the city can achieve real revitalization without a hotel? And if not, what will you, as a council person, do to ensure the hotel thrives?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think that we all want the hotel to survive. But of course, the city of Trenton does not manage the hotel. And since the fiasco of us financing it and then having turned over management to, I guess it's the third management company that's failed the hotel, that is a mess that we have to straighten out. The city council can, of course, insist on certain parameters, but as long as someone else controls the management of the place, I'm not certain how much a city council person can do other than insist that we hire a competent manager and make sure they get the job done. Now, I'm not going to take the position that a single city council person is going to make it rain and do all these other things, because that would not be honest. I'm part of a body that has to work together to get these things done. But no one is satisfied with the hotel and the way it's being managed, and we're not going to go very far with attracting downtown business until we get that hotel open. But we need it to be managed correctly.
Same question.
Okay. So this is what we call housing and economic development. And our Housing and Economic Development Department needs to be really engaged in marketing this city and marketing the possibility of someone coming in and working with the folks that own the hotel right now. They actually want to sell it, to see if they're willing to purchase this hotel so that we can move forward, because I really do believe that the capital city should have a hotel. I really do, or a training center, or some things where people can stay when they come here. And the city and city council, if they're aware of anybody who is interested in seriously investing in our city, bearing in mind our history, our arts, and where our economic engine wants to go, I think that it's really important that a lot of us become engaged in this and that we market this city much more wisely. And I think you will find some takers out there that might willing to negotiate the purchasing of that property and setting up a new hotel. I would hope so, because that hotel at one time was a gathering place for Trentonians, and everybody loved going there to eat and have lunch and socialize in the evening. So we would like to see, I would certainly like to see that come back, since the downtown has been developing and there are new businesses downtown. So we want to encourage more foot traffic, and we want to encourage our legislators, once we have the hotel, to stay there and use it. And I'm sure the unions will too. Thank you.
May I move forward? Mr. Ward? Very good. All right. No, I just want to know whether you had something to add,
Well,
since we did that the
all
first
I would
time.
like to add is, of course, everyone realizes that we need the hotel up and functioning. There's no question about that. We're hemorrhaging money from that as it sits there empty, and that's a situation that can't go on. So I have no illusions that this is something we're going to have to deal with in a forthright fashion, and it will be one of the important issues that the City Council will deal with.
Thank you. Candidate Caldwell, understanding Trenton's financial challenges, do you believe that the city should prioritize hiring more inspectors before hiring more police, and why?
So the first thing I want to say is that once the mayor turns the budget over to council, council owns that budget. Our new council needs to sit down and go through that budget with a fine-tooth comb. And that's where coming to the table with the mayor is that our priorities are on the same page. We really need to have more inspectors. We need to have inspectors on the weekends when all the violators are doing all their work. We need more aggressive inspections in the city of Trenton. We don't have enough staff because of us losing our transitional aid and all of the layoffs. But we can't use that as an excuse anymore. We have to redefine our government. We have to prioritize. And I truly believe that both candidates are running for mayor understand that, and they know that we really have to seriously look at this budget and start reprioritizing our expenditures as to where that goes.
Thank you. Candidate Ward?
Yes, we definitely need more inspectors. We're actually losing money because we are not. One of my dear friends, Kevin Moriarty, actually did a study on how much money we lost because of the landlord ordinance that wasn't enforced, and he estimated to be about $3.5 million, simply because we're not enforcing the absentee vacant house ordinance to the degree that it could be. We're also losing money because the violations that are occurring are allowed to happen without nobody watching the store. And the building and repair people are frustrated because they want to move forward with construction, and they need an inspector to come out, and we still don't have it. I think we have the number of police officers that we need here in the city, and we need to move the number of inspectors up. And we also got to make sure the inspection department is functioning properly. That's an important issue because I've heard complaints that violations have been overlooked if they know how to make the inspector happy, if you get my insinuation. So not only do we need more inspectors, we need to make sure the inspection department is operating in a forthright fashion, and that if we find bad apples there, we need to get rid of them.
I would just like to say one more thing, that you know, because of the past failings of previous administrations in the inspection department, doesn't mean to say that we can't move forward. And I agree with my opponent that they do have to take a look at the inspections department. There has to be more supervision. There has to be more, they have to be more responsive to the customers, to the public. There has to be a program set up so that when someone goes in there and they need to get permits, it's 1, 2, 3. They don't have to keep going back one day after the other. And it has continually been a problem. But that is going to be the responsibility of the new administration. And I'm willing to sit down with them and give my ideas on how they can do that. Thank you.
Very good. Next question, Candidate Ward. What needs to happen to reopen the closed library branch in your ward, and what will you do to further that goal, sir?
Well, we need to stop making excuses. For one thing, there's a resolution in front of City Council right now to reopen the libraries. And I don't know what more information you need to pass that ordinance, but that's exactly what needs to happen. And if I'm on City Council, I can assure you I'm going to vote in favor of that bond issue that gets the money to open not only that library, there's one in West Trenton that also needs to be open, and another in the North Ward. The libraries are important to the city of Trenton because our students need to have help after schools and on Saturdays, some tutoring. The library is functional. If it's functioning properly, it's a haven for our children. So it's not just a luxury, it's a necessity. If people are complaining about the test scores in our schools, our children need that enhanced attention to literacy skills, bilingual skills, and our libraries can supply that. So I'm not going to play around and play games about the libraries or abandoned houses or the roads. I'm going to get it done and move on to the next issue.
Candidate Caldwell.
So the bond ordinance is only one part of the deal. That library, I've been working with the East Trenton Collaborative and other organizations before that to try to find a way to partner with the city so that we can come up with the money and the program so that we can open that. We almost did it 3 years ago, and it fell through because of the administration. So we need to give the East Trenton Collaborative, we need to give them a lease and give them the freedom to work with their partners, to work together financially and physically to fix the library, open it up, and once again make it a safe haven for our children. You know, children like to feel safe when they want to read and they want to learn. The history of that library, it was donated to the city from a gentleman. People used to get the vaccinations there. Families used to go there and meet. They would have all kinds of family events there. So we need to do that again. And before that wonderful old mansion goes to seed, we need to move forward and give a lease to the East Trenton Collaborative so they can move forward with their partnerships to open up this library.
Very good.
It's interesting that we spend a lot of time talking about what's going to happen. And I would just point out, we've had 8 years for it to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. So it's time to move forward. It's time for a change, and it's always somebody else's fault.
Well, I guess, you know, when you just become an activist every time there's an election, I guess you have a lot to say. I have been working, I have worked very, very hard for the past 8 years. You don't even know the half of the conversations I've had trying to open this library.
If I may,
was an activist before you moved to Trenton.
Excuse me. We said we weren't going to get into snarking, so let us keep it beautiful, all right? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Now, next question, Candidate Caldwell. Should police and firefighters... Oh, thank you. Should police and firefighters maintain permanent residency in the city? And if so, Lord, this is a lively church. Hang on. And if so, what will you do as councilperson to make that a requirement of employment? Please, Candidate Caldwell.
Thank you. Well, I always thought it was always a very positive idea that if police and firefighters actually lived in the city, they would care more about the city. And I'm not saying that there's not police and there's not firefighters out there that don't care about our city. They do. They're very involved with our kids and with our families, and I see them in the community all of the time. So I'm not besmirching the fire company and the police department, but I think it's important if you have an investment in a city or in a town, you're going to work even harder to make sure that there's safety, you're going to be part of the community, and absolutely, I would certainly like to sit down and have a conversation, but that conversation has to be taken with the administration, with the fire unions, and the police unions, because they do have contracts, and they have contract language that absolutely spells out their terms and conditions of employment. So it's not something that council just can go in there and change. If they're willing to negotiate with the administration, they don't negotiate their contracts with council. They negotiate their contracts with the administration. And if the administration is going to be strong enough to negotiate that kind of language in the contract, certainly I would definitely support that.
Candidate Ward, same question.
Yes, certainly. Everyone understands having the policemen and firemen living in the city is an advantage, particularly when you consider that the salaries that we pay them go out of the city and pay taxes in another place. We'd like to keep it in our own city. And if you actually live in the city, somebody once told me, be careful of the cook who won't eat his own cooking. If we're supposed to accept the services of the police and fire, why can't they live in the city where they're doing their jobs? Much of this question is actually beyond the city of Trenton. It's a state legislative law that allows police and firemen to live outside of the municipality. The suburbs have always opposed changing that because it works to their advantage. But of course, the city of Trenton can negotiate contracts that have incentives and provisions that would allow police and fire to live within the city. And of course, we would support such an idea. But would also ask the mayor to hang tough and negotiate a strong contract. I appreciate the role of the police and fire unions, but their job is to benefit the employees, the firemen and the policemen. But it's the mayor's job and the council's job to represent the taxpayers. So let's approach it from that way and make sure that the taxpayers in the city of Trenton get a bang for the buck, and the men whose salaries we pay are here to serve us.
Thank you. Candidate Ward.
Yes, sir.
Give us your best idea on how to improve the city of Trenton on any front.
I'm always perplexed by that question because if there was one thing you could do to fix the city of Trenton, it would be done already. It's not just one thing. There's many fronts, and they all affect each other. Housing, jobs, education, crime, they're all related. So there's no one miracle thing you could do to fix the city of Trenton. You have to do them all at the same time. So the answer is, you know, we have jobs, but you need transportation to make sure that they can do the jobs. You need a workforce, but they have to be educated. You have to pay for that education, so you have to worry about taxes. And the business located, you got to worry about crime. And when you worry about crime, how the police are deployed. So there's no single answer. I want everybody to understand that. And let's papers like to ask you that question because they only want to fit everything in a paragraph. But you as taxpayers have to understand it's a multifaceted problem, and we have to work on each one of them, and each one of them has a different answer. So if there was one thing that I would do, I would tell the city of Trenton to turn from your evil ways. Get down on your knees, turn towards heaven, and ask him to intercede in our lives so that the problems that we have get touched in each individual house and each in the family and each person so that we can hear from heaven. So if there was a single answer, I would say look to the hills from which come our help, and let us down here on City Council deal with the day-to-day.
Candidate Caldwell.
I thought I left church. Okay. So first of all, you know, I agree with Algernon. There's a myriad of issues that we have to solve in this city, but the city is in a lot of debt. And everything comes back to finances. And this city really has to work, and they've been working with a group of people and not strong enough to actually promote the capital city, to promote it for investors, to promote it for economic development. The more economic development we have, the more people are on the tax rolls, the more money we have that we can actually take that revenue and we can work it up with programs that can actually teach. It can teach people, we can work with the families. Right now, there's not enough money for Trenton City to do an after-school program. We depend on the schools, we depend on 501c3s to pick up the slack. So until we start promoting the good in this city, and there's a lot of good things that are happening in this city, but I've been hearing a lot of negative things, and we have to stop being negative about this city because this is a great city. It's full of really terrific people that care about the city. And the city itself has to really start investing wisely and communicating with the rest of the world, or at least the tri-state area, as to what we have to offer so that we can start having more people move into the city and invest in the city, which gives us the revenue that we need to address the fiscal problems that we have. Thank you.
May we have a round of applause for both of our candidates, you know. And now I would like to ask that candidate Caldwell provide us with your closing statement, please, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight and listening to us. It's always been my message, as long as I've been in office, is that my constituent service is second to none. And I find that that is a really, really important aspect of being a council person, because you're one-on-one with your constituents, you know what the issues are. You can't solve all of them, but some of them you can, even if it just means a quality of life issue. On council, I pay attention to the legislation that comes through, excuse me. I pay attention to the legislation, and I get criticized when I hold things up, but I hold things up for a reason, because I don't want to initiate any more debt than we have to. And I need answers from the administration when they want us to approve spending. I also work with the Public Works Department, and it's going to be really important. I've tried to develop a good working relationship with the directors so that when I need something done in my ward, I can call on them and say, we need this done immediately, not tomorrow, not the next week. But one of the most important things that I would stress is with a new administration is that they take a look at this city and they take Public Works and they split it up into 4 teams that are responsible for each ward so that they are held accountable. They can set a schedule so that I can tell my constituents your sidewalk will be repaired tomorrow or it will be repaired a month from now. Just a little bit more organization so that we can put the teams out there, different colored uniforms, so people start to recognize them and respect them. I also will ask them to condense the departments in the city so that we can make the Water and Sewage Department a standalone department with a qualified head that has all the certifications to make our water clean and good like it always was. Thank you.
And candidate Ward, your closing statement, please, sir.
All I can say to you is, as I look around this room, I see a lot of my friends, colleagues, neighbors, and family, and they know me as an activist since I was in high school. They know me, they've always been involved in the life of our city. And I'd like to bring that activism forward on City Council. As I look out here at the city of Trenton, if anyone's happy with the way things are right now, then let's keep the status quo. But if you're ready for a change, if you're ready to see things improve, if you're ready to see more energy and more activism, put into the representative of city council, then it's time for a change, and please vote for me. Abandoned houses. City of Trenton is the largest slumlord in the city. The roads can be fixed, but if you don't put the application in to get the money, the roads stay tore up. Crime, the issue of crime has a lot to do with the fact that we close the doors to our teens and they run wild in the streets because nobody's giving them the guidance they need. I don't have to learn these problems. I live them every day. I was born on Southern Street. My opponent was born in Scotland. So who is the one who knows the city of Trenton and what issues there are that we have before us? I think that we can get these problems done. And let me tell you, the one way it's done is by organizing ourselves. All the things that I've accomplished here in the city of Trenton comes from organizing the community and have people step forward and do it for themselves. That's how we stop the waters from being sold. That's how we stop the contamination at the Junior 1 school. And that's how we can move this whole city forward. And by the way, even as we speak, I'm working on making sure our electoral system is fair. Because of the lawsuit I filed at the county, they found 758 instances of irregularities in the voting polls. So I am doing that, and I will do that, and I'm asking you to vote for me for councilman of the North Ward.
Thank you. And thus we have the end of the North Ward debate. Thank you both, candidates Caldwell and Ward.
Thank you, everybody. Next, we have up the South Ward, but candidate Malave has not committed to coming, and we will have a statement to read from him. Our moderator will take care of that, and then we're going to ask George Michelle some questions.
So, ladies and gentlemen, all right. If I may have your attention, please. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Candidate Malave's statement is as follows. I want to apologize for not being able to make it to tonight's debate. I am currently hitting the streets to meet with my constituents and connect with them in these last few weeks leading up to the runoff election on June 12th. I wish all the candidates the best of luck. So, I'm hearing a hum in the church. Bring it down, please. Thank you so much. Sir, first question. What foremost priority do you plan to accomplish within the first 100 days of office?
First 100 days. First of all, being I was in the mayor's seat for that short time, I can assure you that you want to sit down with everyone, the new elected individuals, on a one-on-one basis. Because you'll be surprised to find out that these individuals do not have the knowledge they ran on. Anybody, anyone can put in 100 signatures and you're on the ballot. You're on a ballot. And then your friends and the people you knock on the doors, they put you in office. they have no clue of what's going on in the city of Trenton. I was very surprised when I took office to find out
Please, church, please.
I was very surprised to find out that the mayor's car was not registered for 3 years. They drove around with an unregistered vehicle. I found out the garbage trucks could not go to Pennsylvania. I found out that no one was in City Hall. No one was in City Hall. Does that mean I got 3 minutes? I don't have an opponent. Let me go. Let me roll. Let me roll. I want to make it known so everybody's here so you can understand how this administration works. All right? I want to tell you how it works. No one's there, and no one was there for the city of Trenton. You couldn't even take the money in from finance and drop it off because there was nobody there to take the money. It's hardly, we need the money. We need the money. I learned so much in that short period of time with promises and signing things that shouldn't have been signed. They wanted signed that I didn't sign that came back for favoritism. We got to do better. We have an election here. You have to sit down. Sit with every one of the people that are elected into this office and find out what they're about. Because just looking there, who's elected don't mean you're a council person and you can take on the big, big picture that everyone seems to think you can do it. They elected you, and believe me, it's not what you see, it's not what you hear. It's about money. And you have to focus on one thing and one thing only: honesty, integrity, and the will to thrive, to make the city better. And it wasn't done in all these years. We could stand around. Oh, don't cut me off. I'm rolling.
He was ready to go. Question number 2. I'm going to hit you up with question number 2, brother.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, they told me I can come back.
Here it comes.
Remember where I left off.
Yes, sir.
A lot more to come.
Lord help us. Here we come. Question number 2. Trenton has a significant number of alleys overrun with trash. What's a solution to clean up and the prevention of illegal dumping? And how will you work toward that goal?
Here's what I've been working for. Maybe people don't know it. I'm out every morning, 5:30 in the morning, picking up the trash, picking up the garbage that our garbage men didn't pick up. Every morning, I'm out picking up trash and garbage that our own men didn't pick up. But these alleyways that are in the east, the west, the north, the south, they never seen a street sweeper. Never seen a street sweeper in the alleyways. I have gentlemen out here. I know he's looking at me. He knows it. He lives in an alleyway off of Chambers Street. We all know it. They don't go down these alleyways. You tell me why. Tell me why we don't go down these alleyways. You pay your taxes. You pay your taxes all the time. And they knock on your door when you don't pay the taxes. The street sweepers should go down the alleyways. I'm going to tell you something that you probably don't even know. I got a lot of things to tell you, and I got time. We bought 2 new street sweepers. We bought 2 new street sweepers. They left them in a garage. All right? 2 street sweepers. And here was the agreement. This was the agreement. They come to Trenton. This was the agreement. And they still wanted to come this day, come down to Trenton and clean the city of Trenton for nothing. for absolutely nothing. They were coming down with 5 street sweepers and R2, which made 7 street sweepers. That means we were going to start from Broad Street, Broad and the city line, and work all the way to the monument. All the way to the monument. Denied. Denied. Why was it denied? Because we're going to show the administration up that this city can be cleaned up. They didn't want it cleaned up because the dirtier it is, the more money you get. And you can take that to the bank.
Sir, the next question, sir. South Ward waterfront is probably the most underutilized space in the city. What do you think should be done with that area, and what will you do as councilperson to further that goal?
When I took office 9 years ago, I'm 1 year ahead of my colleagues. I filled in a spot 9 years ago. 9 years ago, I put in a letter saying what we could do at the waterfront and how it can be done. I had builders to come out there and look at this. Denied. Denied. It's a multi-million-dollar business right there. We could do condos. We could do an inner harbor. We own the property all the way down to the Hamilton line. My proposal was that the light rail, we can make a parking area down there, make revenue off the parking area off Lamerton Road, and takes the traffic congestion out of the downtown city. Denied. Denied. Everything I put in with, denied. We did not get anywhere with this administration. And the prior administration, we went nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
Wow. Next question, Brother Muscaha.
Okay.
What needs to happen to reopen the closed library branch in your ward, and what will you do to further that goal?
Another surprise for you. When I was mayor, I made sure that the skeleton library was fixed and ready to go when I took over my council seat. Fixed and ready to go. With $450,000 sitting there to open it up. Let your imagination go, where's the money? Follow the money trail. It's gone. And the library didn't open. Big question, where's the money? I keep talking, you'll find out where the money goes.
Next question then. Here we come. Voter turnout, excuse me, y'all. Voter turnout in the May election was significantly low. How do you plan to boost civil engagement in your ward and get youth involved in government and public service?
In my ward alone, 400 residents did not come out and vote. For whatever reason. For whatever, it was the lowest ever in my elections. Last election, I got 74.9%. This time I got 47%. People didn't come out. They had 10,000 excuses. The doctors, vacation. We backtracked them all. We just backtracked them all. They said they're coming out. We'll see what happens in this election. They're happy what I do. I work every day for them. I work hard for everybody in my ward, besides working hard for everybody in this city. Because there's a lot of work that's not done in this city, but I get numerous phone calls, approximately 25 a day. 25 a day in my office. My wife handles them. My lovely wife handles these calls and puts them out. Drives, inspections, crazy. To fill potholes, cut trees down. If they don't cut the tree down, who goes out and cuts it? Me. Me. I cut the tree down. You want a tree cut down? We cut them down. We cut them down. I patch the holes. I patch the holes. I'm out there. I'm your councilman. But when you have a problem, you're calling me because city did not respond. A gentleman sitting there had 20 tires in the back of his yard. They dumped off, and I'm not pointing no fingers out there. He made a call. Within a half hour, the tires were picked up. Picked up. Right there. Picked up. You call me, you get response. You call other council peoples, you get lip service. Lip service. And I can say that because I'm doing their work, and I'm not afraid to say it. Pick up the phone. I got 4 phones. If you can't pick me up on a phone, and you can't knock at my door and say you need help, you didn't try to get George Michelle. I live here in the city. I work hard in the city. I built $1 million business in the city. I have apartment houses. So I have an interest in the city to make it that it can prosperous and flow, that the money can come in. You don't think I'm heartbroken over looking at this city every day, the filth going down Broad Street? I turned around. I went from Dye Street and Broad to Chestnut Avenue. I got all the cars moved with the help of another candidate, Joey Harrison. He helped me. Joey Harrison helped me. We moved everything, all the dirt. We went down there and cleaned it in 4 hours. The mayor never came out and said, great job. Never came out and says, we'll give you more help. Never came out and says, we'll give you the bags. We did it. I can clean this city up. The new mayor coming up, I want a relationship with him. I want to sit down with him. I want to tell him my plan. I'll listen to his plan, but I'm going to tell you my plan, how it's going to work. That you're going to turn around and put a garbage truck down these alleyways, and now you got school ending. You got Trenton High children coming out looking for jobs. I'm looking for strong bodies, not to throw garbage, but to walk behind the garbage trucks with a broom and shovel and pick up the excess that our garbage men should pick up and don't pick up, that's blown all around through the city, and pay them a fair wage. When I originally took over in there, our salary for the people were $7 an hour. $7 an hour to pay a labor. $7. This council finally came around, and they're getting the proper wage they should. $7 for a grown person. Grown person means you're making $5 an hour. I think $12 an hour. Well, you had to fight hard. You had to fight hard to get anything done.
Brother
Cut me off? Okay, go ahead.
No, you're rolling. You're rolling, sir. This is the next question. Should police and firefighters maintain permanent residency in the city? And if so, what will you do as a council person to make that a requirement of employment?
Well, okay, being a cop for 39 years, and I lived here, and the firefighters, and last time I mentioned this, it was a big bang out, and they turned around and I said, I'd love to see everybody from the city of Trenton take the police test and pass it, and come on as a police officer. However, we had problems with them passing the test. So they should be tutored so they can pass the test and make him eligible to be a police officer. We needed bodies. The biggest thing is people taking the test. We didn't have enough people on the city level to pass the test. But I was attacked, brutally attacked. However, a candidate that just ran, didn't come in, says they can't even spell the word diploma. So nobody attacked him, but when I mentioned this, what I said, everybody wants to attack me because I tell you from my heart, I'd love to have everybody from the city of Trenton come in here. I'd love it. And who don't work in the city of Trenton, there should be a stipend that if you ain't going to work in the city of Trenton and you work in the township, then there's got to be some sort of a stipend that you turn around and pay it back. Can I go?
Yes.
Or are you going to cut me off?
I have another question.
Go ahead.
The number of complaints regarding housing issues is countless. How do you, as council person, plan to ensure landlords are responsive to tenant needs in your ward?
Landlords are a big problem. I deal with them every day. I deal with them. They don't care. They do not care. They don't care if they put purple on the doors, yellow, you name it. They don't care because they're getting their rent and they don't care. So we have to have some codes. We have to have some kind of violations, and we have to have more individuals going out and correcting the problem. We have to correct this problem with the landlords. The landlords are brutal. They are brutal, and whoever owns a house here, and I'm sure a lot of you do, your value of your house is decreasing because of what's going on. Your house that you paid $100,000 for is worth $40,000. So everything you worked hard for is worth nothing. We can change it with the right leadership. We can change it with the right leadership, and I will. I will have my seat back, and I will work hard to the elected person that's going to be in there to make sure this works.
Brother Michelle, sir. Now for your closing remarks, please. Bring it like you want it, brother. Uh-huh.
I ran 9 years ago on safe, clean, and prosperous. I had plenty of people come up to me and says, it's not safe. It's not safe in the city of Trenton. But I disagree. And I disagree. Why? Because I'm going to tell you. Every day I'm out there. As a retired police officer, I'm turning in information. Who has guns? Who sells drugs? And what kind of crime's going in? And I know for a fact, because I work with the FBI, the ATF, that these guns are being taken off the street. So you might not see it, and you don't know anything about George Michelle, but I'm out there. I'm out there every day, 5:30 in the morning. I'm riding the streets. Everything's getting marked down. Clean. You ain't going to get any cleaner than me picking up everybody's garbage. I'm doing the best I can do. I don't have a garbage truck. But let me tell you, I offered to pay for my own insurance on a street sweeper. They offered to let me use a street sweeper. I was denied. But I do the best I can. Whoever calls me, I respond. I don't look like this. I go into City Hall in shorts. I'm in shorts. I don't have to put a suit and tie on. I had to get a new one because I couldn't fit in the other one. And I'm being honest. When you see me, if people see me out there, they all see me. You got inspectors here. I'm in shorts. I'm out there hands-on. I'm out there to do the job that you call me to do. And I do it hard. People don't know how hard I work. I don't go on Facebook. I don't care how much they trash me. I have my haters. And that's okay. But I'm still here, and I'm still working for you, and I have an interest in the city of Trenton to make it better for you. And the last, prosperous. Prosperous is a big factor. All right? Everybody says we ain't going to be prosperous. Yeah, it can be prosperous. Absolutely. You got the waterfront, like I said. The waterfront right there. I don't have an industrial park. I don't have an industrial area. I got mom and pop stores around there that they're all filled. And it's the same thing. They want to hear, we just want service. They got quality of life things that go on every day in my ward. Quality of life. My books are open to anyone every day to come in and look. For 9 years, a book for every year. I'm over 10,000 entries that I helped out the citizens of the city of Trenton. And I work hard for every one of you when you call.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we have a round of applause for Brother George Michelle. See, I was going to do.
All right, thank you so much, George. That was sure-spirited. Next up, we have the Eastward candidates. Tawanda Terry Wilson won the towing cost. She will be candidate 1. If I can manage these things. And Joe Harrison is candidate 2. I thank you both for being here. And with that, I'm going to turn it right over to our moderator. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Good day.
Good day.
Let us begin with candidate Terry Wilson. First question. What foremost priority do you plan to accomplish within the first 100 days of office? Candidate Wilson.
Good afternoon. Thank you. So the first thing that I want to tackle is I want to make sure that I bring to the administration the concerns of the residents who I have spoke with and walked and want to make sure that their concerns are heard and understood. And I also want to make sure that I speak with my council colleagues to find out how we can bring things into fruition.
Candidate Harrison.
First 100 days, I would want to address the quality of life issues in the East Ward. We have potholes, we've got abandoned properties, we have squatters. We need, the people of the East Ward need to know that when they call me, I will be there for them. Thank you.
Can you hear?
No.
I didn't think
Sorry.
so.
Are our mics on?
No.
Both candidates are registering low.
Okay.
Excuse me. Pardon me.
Ready against the mic?
Candidate Harrison.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay.
The East Ward contains a police satellite station that is underutilized and a mini community station that has been vacant so long it might be condemned. What would be a better use for the satellite station, and what will you do as councilperson to ensure smart growth in your ward?
Well, first, you're right. That building has been empty, unutilized by the police department. We could hold community meetings there. Things that the community wants addressed could be there, like Eastward CPAC meetings. People's concerns, they can meet there and address, because you're right, the building is not being used. It's a waste of millions of dollars that should be used, a building that should be used.
Candidate Terry Wilson.
Sure. So when the police departments decided to open the satellite locations in each of the different wards, one of the concerns that the residents had was how much will we actually use the building. So as it stands right now, it has the capability to have surveillance done. The police officers can work out of that building. Our CPAC, like Joe just said, does utilize their community meetings there. And the people inside the East Ward have a myriad of concerns. They have concerns about unemployment. They have concerns about the quality of life issues. So I'm thinking that we can use that building to hold community forums and find out how we can relay the concerns of the constituents to our administration and actually bring forth some change to make them a part of the revitalization of Trenton, because they want to do that. So the answer to that question is to make sure we let it be a place that we can use for residents to come and express their concerns.
All right. Candidate Terry Wilson. Should Trenton serve as a sanctuary city? Why or why not?
I believe that we currently operate as a sanctuary city. I believe that the United States is supposed to be a place where everyone who has an issue or they want to find a way to make a life for themselves, that the United States is a place to go. And because we are a city in the state, I think that we should be able to find a way to make sure we welcome all the people that live here in our city. We do have a diverse population. We have a lot of immigrants here. both legal and illegal, and I don't think that we should treat anybody differently. I think that we have to listen to what their concerns are and try to find a way to make them legal participating members of our society.
Candidate Harrison.
I agree. We are a sanctuary city. There's many people of different nationalities in this city. I think we should be working together to try to get people to become citizens of this country, because everybody deserves the American dream. I never look at anybody based upon their race, color, creed, whatever they are. I base upon their love for this city and the love to move this city forward, because this city has not been getting the job done, and that's the reason why I'm here. Thank you.
Well, Candidate Harrison, the next question. Considering the low voter turnout in May in that election, how do you plan to boost civic engagement in your ward?
First, we used to, in the past, we had a Chambersburg Civic Association that was in Columbus Park. They're not holding meetings anymore. So we have to engage, me, Ty, everybody in this room has got to engage the community to get them to want to believe in us. If they don't believe in us and the direction of the city going, then they're going to continue not voting, and they're going to move out of the city. We want people to stay here, to love this city, and know that we're going to fight to move this city forward. Thank you.
Candidate Terry Wilson, the same question.
Sure. So again, but meeting with the residents on a continuous basis, and more recently and more frequently as I'm beginning my run for the East Ward City Council, people want to feel like you listen to them. People want to feel like they matter. People want to feel like their concerns are being heard, and it all boils back down to that. So you can't tell a person to come out and vote when they specifically try to vote and they see that the people who we elect don't necessarily respond to them, aren't receptive to their concerns. So we have to have honest conversations about, and back up, we don't even have to have honest conversations. We need to first and foremost recognize that your elected officials work for you. It's not the other way around. It's a privilege and an honor to serve the citizens. And I proudly do that right now, and I plan to continue if I'm given the honor to serve as your East Ward councilperson. So you can best believe that I will understand. If you feel like I'm listening to you, if you feel like your concerns are being heard, you will come out and you will be a part of that process. We cannot move Trenton forward without understanding that fact and implementing it. Thank you.
Candidate Terry Wilson. What needs to happen to reopen the closed library branch in your ward, and what will you do to further that goal? Candidate Wilson.
Okay, so what we can do is we can talk about partnering with some other higher institutes of learning and maybe larger corporations throughout the state to see if we can find ways to for them to give us money or maybe volunteer their time. I'm open to discussions. I'm open to discussions to finding out how we can make things a go and not always have to say, no, we can't. We have a lot of stay-at-home moms inside of our city. Maybe we can utilize those people to come in inside and work with our, open up the libraries and staff. And I don't know what the protocol is, but we can look into it. We have a lot of stay-at-home fathers or people who are locked out of our economy because of past mistakes that they may have made. So I think that it's time for us to stop thinking other people will come and save us, but we can work with the tools that we have, which is the people here, and find out how we can rebrand our city. It doesn't cost us a dime if we can do a voluntary basis, and then we can go explore other options after that. Thank you.
Candidate Harrison, same question about the library.
Yes, I would like to open up the libraries in East Wards by putting together a committee with a president, vice president, treasurer, see if we can get federal grant money to fund these libraries. The libraries closing was a huge mistake. That right there alone, these kids need more opportunities. We do not need kids on the streets. I do not want to see kids in orange jumpsuits and going to jail. I want to see them with a book in their hand. I want to see them hugging their parents. I want to see them becoming the next future leaders of this country. Thank you.
Candidate Harrison, one of the biggest complaints from city youth is that there's not enough entertainment options in Trenton to deter kids from crime. What entertainment options do you believe will thrive in Trenton, and how do you plan to bring those options to your ward?
Well, first, one of the options I think we could do is utilizing the parks. We could have art in the park for the kids. We could reach out and make these kids energized by putting smiles on their face and knowing that there is other things out there for them. There's people in the community that are pulling for them to move ahead in their life. So not only that they can succeed, but they could be happy and know that this city is actually fighting for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Terry Wilson, same question.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't quite
Yes.
hear the first
One
part.
of the biggest complaints from city youth is that there's not enough entertainment options in Trenton to deter kids from crime. So what will you do in terms of your plan to bring about entertainment options in your ward?
So I think that if we can enhance the sports programs that we have for our children. I know we used to have something called Weed and Seed. If we can revisit those programs were systematically defunded. So we talk about what we want to see the kids do, but those are the first things that we begin to cut. I was talking to some constituents the other day. They were sitting in front of a store, and I kind of walked up to them because they were loitering. And these young men, they weren't necessarily children, but they were about 18 to 23. And so I'm asking them, why are you sitting in front of the store? A lot of times when patrons come in, they don't like walking past people for whatever reasons. The guy said to me, they don't sit inside the parks because they're harassed by different people. And I had to think about that. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm taking my younger children to the park, you may not want, but these people weren't doing anything wrong. So we have to really have honest discussions. We keep saying we want people to be involved. We don't want people loitering, but when people sit inside of a park where a park is free and open, you tell them they can't sit there. So we really have to have an honest conversation about the things that plague cities and how we leave certain people out of our communities, because unless we let our whole community play a part, we're going to keep having these same conversations. And that's my answer.
Regarding the parks too, I think there's a big problem with drug dealing that's going on in the parks, which is making it hard for these kids to utilize the park. We have to give these kids another option than drilling drugs or getting in trouble with the law. We have to show them that there's other options. And I think that's one of the reasons too I see a lot of parents don't go to the park with their kid. It's because they see things that are going on there that they would love to see cleaned up. But at the same sense, I don't want to see these guys keep going in and out of jail. I want to see them to be able to be there when their kids graduate. I want to see them not be behind bars, because they deserve an opportunity to life too, like everybody else. Thank you.
Can I add to that? And not a rebuttal, but I've been told I talk a lot, so I tried to shorten that part of the conversation. But another part of the conversation with that guy was, before he answered, because I said, well, he said it's okay for them to sit in front of the store. I said, well, would you like it if I went and sat on your porch? And he didn't have a response to that. He actually smiled, and one guy said, yeah. But the guy prefaced his answer with, ma'am, I work every single day. So we can't always make assumptions that everybody that's sitting in our park is selling drugs. Because even though I didn't think that about him, the fact that he thought that I had to say, well, sir, I never made that assumption. And then I thought back with my children, because I am that type of parent where I'm going to take them to the park and I'm going to hang out. And I said, my husband and I, when our children are playing in parks, we stand there. So they're really, are we stereotyping people? Or we really have to have honest conversations. And I believe that everybody here in the city of Trenton loves the city. That's why we're here. And I think our diversity makes us great. And I think if we begin to have honest conversations, that is when we'll move our city forward. And I'm open to having those and finding out what we can do to save our children and also rebuild our city. Thank you.
Next question. This is for candidate Terry Wilson. Give us your best idea on how to improve the city of Trenton on any front. Candidate Terry Wilson.
Sure. So I think that strong leadership is central to Trenton's recovery. I think it's essential to its rebirth and the return to being the economic epicenter of Mercer County. To get there, I believe we need to close the academic achievement gap in our public schools. We need to attract new businesses. We need to implement community policing and approve a zero-tolerance ordinance to hold landlords and property owners accountable. And I'm running for the people, and I'm running because I believe that these are the things that our city needs. It just needs the right leadership to jumpstart that engine.
Mr. Harrison.
My idea would be opening the recycle plant on Brunswick Avenue on Saturday from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. so people could drop off car batteries, TVs, tires, tree branches, old paint. This also have the 5 street sweepers going around the clock, because if we beautify this city and clean it up, this would help free up the trash guys, because the trash guys right now have so much to do. It's one start. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed, but this is one of the things I believe in. Thank you.
All right. May we have a round of applause for both of these candidates? And now for the closing remarks. Candidate Harrison, you first, please.
First, I'd like to thank Mercer County and the Trentonian for holding this forum here today. Also want to thank everybody that's here today. I love to see all your smiling faces, because you're all about the future of this direction of the city of Trenton. I'm in this race because the East Ward needs a candidate about quality of life. And quality of life is a big thing here. People complain about the potholes, the abandoned properties, the direction that they want from the council person is of moving the city forward, moving the CPACs, getting the CPACs to come together, having all the candidates. Look, we ran against each other, but at the end of the day, we need to work together. And if we work together, there will be a brighter future. So I'm never going to be against Ty here, because me and Ty got to work together.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, I want to thank all you. I want to thank my mom right there. Mom. My mom's a single-family mom and told me always in life, show love to others and it will come back to you. So I want to thank everybody here. Thank you so much.
You did a good job. You did a good job.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Sister Wilson.
So thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out to hear what we have to say. And again, just to reaffirm, I am seeking the privilege and the responsibility of serving as your next East Ward council person. I am born and raised in the city of Trenton in the East Ward. I am married with 3 children and 1 grandchild. By profession, I am an administrative assistant within the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission. And even as a young child, I always sought and chose to serve my community, to make an impact, and to be a voice for the people. And I have served my community as past president of the Villa Park Civic Association, the Trenton Schools Advisory Board, the Save Trenton High Coalition, Trenton Partners for Development, and the Zoning Board of Adjustments. Now, all of this sounds great, and it has prepared me for this moment, but it's not enough. For me, this race is very important, and it's equally personal. My decision to run was not made in a vacuum. It was very well thought out. I had to review what I thought were the community's needs and assess what skill set and commitment I could lend to the residents of the East Ward. I possess strong organizational skills, the ability to listen, to take advice, use discretion, and make decisions even when the decision is unpopular. I understand the importance of reading material, researching matters, and following through, all things that I believe are imperative to the success of a cause. So what I have found in the East Ward is great people and great housing stock, but there are also crumbling sidewalks, abandoned and decaying homes, cratering roads, and citizens who have been left out of society, underserved schools, and our infrastructure is literally falling apart in front of our eyes. I want to be a part of creating a solution for moving the East Ward forward while ensuring and requiring that East Ward residents have a part, and not just any part, but a mutually beneficial part of her turnaround. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, candidates, very much. And thus endeth the East Ward debate.
job. Thank you. Awesome job. All right. Zach. Yeah, just for the way that the moderator's using the questions. All right. So thank you both for the East Ward candidates. Now we have the West Ward. And Zachary Chester has won the coin toss, and he will be going first. And Robin Vaughn is candidate number 2. And with that, I'm going to turn it right over to our moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, candidate Chester, what foremost priority do you plan to accomplish within the first 100 days of office?
My first days in office I will meet with each council member, the new mayor, and directors individually in the hopes to receive insights into what direction and or plans they may have going forward. After which I will begin to form various West Ward advisory committees with our youth, our seniors, pastors, and our business community. I will also meet with the leadership of each civic association to begin to share what I have learned from all of the previous meetings. I've had and I will give a solid outline on how I would like to move forward my vision and also the community's vision. I feel building a relationship within council, city hall, and the community will help with communications and build a stronger West Ward. I have heard from residents, and my hope is definitely building a better community relations and communication overall.
Thank you. Candidate Vaughn.
Well, good afternoon, friends and neighbors. I'm Robin Vaughn, and I'm running for West Ward City Council. I'm here to tell you a little bit about myself and to tell you why I am running for City Council and to ask you for your support. Folks, our city has challenges and opportunities. The solution to our challenges and opportunities is leadership. Our city now more than ever needs leaders, not more managers, not more consultants. Leadership is what it will take to clean up our streets, rid it of crime, and grow our neighborhood economy in the West Ward. And that is why I am running for office. Friends and neighbors, I am organized, I am excited, and I am ready to be your West Ward City Council representative. What I will do within my first days in office, I will identify the top 10 issues that need to be addressed and to understand the landscape and the process and procedures at City Hall, and to establish relationships and the necessary key partners and allies I will need to engage to get the job done. I would first hold meetings with my counterparts on council. I will meet with the mayor and his administration. I will gain an understanding of their plans and their goals. And then I will engage and set meetings with the residents of the West Ward to share and communicate to them the information I gathered from the mayor and his administration and my fellow council. And at the same time, I would gather their inputs as to their concerns and their ideas and what they might have to done. I will do this and facilitate this by town halls, thought leadership forums, form coalitions of like-minded businessmen and women.
Thank
I
you.
would think and compile and compare.
Thank you. Thank you. Candidate Vaughn, I'm getting my mouth all twisted here. As council person, how do you plan to improve the quality of life for residents in the section of Stuyvesant Avenue, that is now troubled with open-air drug activity and shootings?
Yes, that solution is certainly multifaceted. We would definitely have to address the blight in that community and the vacant housing, and to ensure that the community is able to, and the residents there, have some opportunity around employment and improving outcomes for their youth and their families to get the level of support from our government. I would definitely work with all levels of government in our city and in our city council to provide those level of support for that at-risk community.
Okay, same question, candidate Chester.
So the first thing we would need to do is definitely deal with the blight that's in that area. And also, I would meet with the civic associations. There are 2 civic associations in that area. There's also a civic association in the Abbott and Joseph building and on Oakland Street. Bring all of those members of the community together and deal with and hear from them and deal with the issues in that area. Also, bring the young people that are hanging on the corners there and talk with them. We have a number of programs here in the city. If they are without a GED, we have GED programs that are free to young men and women here in the city of Trenton. So we need to get them on the right track. But again, it's going to start with, dealing with the blight. Actually, the former mini police station is on the list to be removed, being taken down. And we also, that area, there's a redevelopment zone in that area as well. So it's also reaching out with the administration for developers to actually come in and develop that area of the community as well.
Very good. Candidate Chester, should Trenton serve as a sanctuary city? Why or why not?
Well, the city of Trenton is a sanctuary city, and I support a sanctuary city because many of our residents that are here that are not documented, they came here as children. They came here fleeing persecution from their country. They came here looking for a better life. And I believe we're all looking for a better life. And I think we are a city, because we're currently a sanctuary city, and we believe that we have not had any outcry that we don't want to be a sanctuary city. It is my understanding from the current administration and the current council, we support being a sanctuary city. So whatever 45 plans to do, I will stand with our governor, our attorney general, our mayor, and our council members. We will remain a sanctuary city.
Thank you. Candidate Vaughn.
Yes, I support, of course, Trenton, our city, to be a sanctuary city. I believe our city demographic supports that. We have a diverse citizenship, and I believe that since our government, our national government, our federal government, our state government supports cities and our state to be sanctuary cities, Trenton certainly should be in compliance with those laws and our immigration laws. But more importantly, these undocumented workers are a big part of our economy, and we want to make sure they contribute to our tax base, they contribute to moving goods and services throughout our neighborhoods, and we want them to be part of our community, and I support it.
Thank you. Can you hear everyone? Good. All right. Thank you. This is for candidate Vaughn. Recent problems at the Colonial Gardens apartment complex have illustrated the problem of landlord neglect. How will you as councilperson make sure landlords are held accountable to tenant needs in your ward?
as council person, one of the main roles of council is to enact ordinances and to ensure that all citizens are compliant with those ordinances, and all landlords and businesses should be operating in compliant with them. I would ensure that those ordinances are rigorously and vigorously enforced. Additionally, I would want to understand the terms and contracts that those landlords are operating under. Yes, they're the owners of the building, but also I would want to know and understand as a member of council, are they receiving any taxpayers' dollars around federal subsidies and et cetera? If a huge apartment complex like Colonial Gardens is obtaining federal subsidies, then we want to make sure as taxpayer citizens they are not abusing or frauding HUD. And if they're abusing and defrauding HUD and are not being compliant with what the services that they're supposed to deliver those tenants are low income, most likely, they're senior citizens, they're veterans, and we all as citizens in Trenton should make sure that those landlords are being governed and they are holding to the terms of their contract with our government.
Candidate Chester.
Yeah, so the first thing that I would, and coming in back onto council and meeting with the new mayor in those meetings, I would suggest and ask for a landlord-tenant summit in the city where we would meet with the housing inspectors, the Department of Community Affairs, HUD, council, the mayor, and have this summit. Because what needs to be understood is how is the property financed? There are some things that council cannot do because of the way how the property is financed. If it's financed through HUD, that's through the federal government. So we have to understand as a council, not just in the West Ward, but throughout the city. And then once we have a conversation and we have clear understanding as to how our different apartment communities are funded, then we will be able to reach out to those landlords, and we should do the exact same thing that we do with our ABC, our liquor stores and our clubs. They have to come in when their license is renewed, and they have to register with the city, and the city actually, the clerk's office actually meets with them annually. And we need to meet with those landlords, not just in apartment buildings, but landlords that own property, to take a look at, do they have violations? Or do we have good addresses for them? Because a lot of these properties are in.
Thank you.
Some of these properties are in LLCs.
Thank you, sir. Candidate Chester. The West Ward contains a police satellite station at the corner of North Hermitage and Artisan Avenues that is largely that they are largely underutilized. What would be a better use for that building, and what will you do as councilperson to ensure smart growth in your ward?
So the first thing that I would do is I would demand that we receive the funding to bring back a full complement of our police department. When we had a full complement of our police department, there was officers that was working out of that mini station there. And so if we bring those officers back, then they can be deployed out of that facility. By them being deployed out of that facility, then we will have police presence in that area. Again, that area is a part of the urban enterprise zone. There's funding there. I would work with the administration to bring businesses back to that shopping center and having that mini station open and operational, not only for the community, because that's where we hold the West Ward CPAC meetings, and there's a couple of civic associations that meet there, but there will also be officers actually working out of the facility.
Thank you. Candidate Vaughn, the same question.
Yes. I would work with the mayor and his administration to understand what his plan is for vacant buildings such as the Seaback building and other vacant buildings and residents throughout the West Ward. From there, regarding using it for ongoing law enforcement activities and management and operations, I would definitely, again, meet with the mayor and his new or the current police director to understand what their strategy ongoing, how they plan on supporting the West Ward, and what resources and operation facilities they'll require, and whether or not that facility, that building will be a part of that strategy.
Very good. Well, Candidate Vaughn, understanding Trenton's financial challenges, do you believe the city should prioritize hiring more inspectors before hiring more police, and why?
I would be very cautious to prioritize one over the other without not fully understanding what the new mayor's plan will be. So once if elected, I will certainly work with, again, the administration and utilize my role as a legislator to work in partnership with the mayor to ensure that the appropriate, that the housing inspectors and law enforcement is properly managed, properly resourced, properly funded, and et cetera. And I'll allow the mayor and the respective professionals and the housing inspector's office and department, the director of housing inspectors and the director of police to determine the priorities there.
Candidate Chester, same
So
question.
actually, in our current budget, there's funding there for inspectors and there's funding for police officers. So I would continue to fund both. Our challenge has been over the years is that DCA, the Department of Community Affairs, has not allowed the city to actually hire individuals in those positions. One of the good things that I can tell the community as of June the 30th, that MOU with DCA and the state is it ends on June 30th. And so then with a new governor and a new mayor and a new council, we can work together and we can work with DCA, and that's why I'm pushing full funding for our police officers. So we have the funds in our budget. They don't allow us to hire. So then and real quickly, so you don't hire the police officers, they're in your funding. The following year, your funding is cut because you said to have a surplus.
Thank you. Candidate Chester, what needs to happen to reopen the closed library branch in your ward, and what will you do to further that goal?
So unfortunately, we will not be able to open the library in the West Ward because it's currently being leased by a nonprofit organization. But in conversations with the superintendent of schools and a conversation with the library director, Pat Hall, there is going to be conversation about opening up our school libraries to the community in a partnership. And that's the most cost-effective way to open up a library and actually have libraries back in our wards. So that is a proposal that the superintendent of schools have put out there, and I think it's an excellent proposal because then we could have kids in these school libraries, per the superintendent, will be open the same time that our current library is open.
Candidate Vaughn, same question.
Well, libraries are very important facilities for any community to thrive. Public libraries are not only utilized by children. Libraries are valuable resources. They're free, they're available, and they permit access to people who can't afford to buy books. Actually, they uplift folks out of poverty. They give you access to employment opportunities and reference material that can help develop any citizen. I myself have come across hard times where I've been laid off and I needed to access books and references and newspapers and the like, even Wi-Fi and internet access, faxing, copy machines, and those things are all available in a public library. Currently, in the city of Trenton, in the West Ward, I live in the West Ward, I had to go out to the Mercer County branch out on Scotch Road, or I had to go up on Darrell Lane up in Lawrence Township. So I don't think there's too much of an option. If I'm on council and a line item comes for funding for a public library, I'm gonna say yes.
We need to wake the church up. Can we have a round of applause for both of our candidates, please? And now for closing remarks. Candidate Vaughn.
Yes. On June 12th, I will ask that you vote for me as your West Ward City Council representative. Your choice is between myself and the incumbent, Zachary Chester, who has had 8 years to move our neighborhoods forward. It is time that the West Ward elect an official that listens, understands, cares, and has the best interests of its residents in mind. I will use the full power of the council to enact, amend, ordinance, and resolutions to provide effective and efficient oversight of the budget, which is taxpayers' dollars, that provide our mayor's plans and projects and services that will help to improve our well-being and the quality of our neighborhood economy. June 12th, vote for Robin Vaughn as your West Ward City Council representative.
Mr. Chester.
My long-time commitment to public service in the West Ward began long before I became a councilman. I saw a decline in our community when I moved back to Trenton after college, and I know that I wanted to be a part of not only restoring the Trenton that we all remember and love, but being a voice and helping in moving Trenton in a new direction it needed to go in order to grow and be a prosperous capital city. My dedication and love for my city and the residents of the West Ward and Trenton as a whole continues to push my desire for a better community and a better city. I'm dedicated, capable, and concerned, and I am well aware that there is so much more work to be done. Let's continue to fight together. It is my pleasure to serve you in the capacity of West Ward Councilman. My prayer, my hope are that you will allow me to do so for another term so that we may together work together to build a better West Ward on Tuesday, June the 12th. Please come out and make your voice count. Vote for the experienced and dedicated leader, Zachary Chester. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you, everybody. I guess we're all here for the main event now. Paul Perez has won the coin toss and will be starting off, and Reed Gashore will be following. I just wanted to say real quick before we let the mayoral candidates take over, this has been a phenomenal experience for us, just seeing this many people out here and engaged in the civic process. And I want to thank every single one in this room for just being here and being involved. And your involvement makes Trenton better, no matter who wins any of these council or mayoral races. Thank you, everybody.
May we get some sound? Testing. Oh, he said don't touch it. Okay. All right. We will begin with candidate Perez. What foremost priority do you plan to accomplish within the first 100 days of your office, sir?
Thank you for the question. First, let me say thank you for everyone to be out here today. This is probably an incredible moment in the history of this city, and it's important that we get it right. So when we talk about what is it that you want to see done in a government in the first 100 days, we really need to reflect on what's been going on in the past 30 years. And what's been happening in the past 30 years is that we haven't really gotten it right when it comes to qualified leadership, to train, to develop, to manage, and to pursue opportunities for the residents of this city. I bring that to the table. And I'm ready this moment right now to be your mayor. That's why I'm here. Now, in order to do that, we have to have a real plan. Because you can't just show up in City Hall and say, okay, I'm fixing everything. So the plan has to involve all of those who currently work in City Hall. So if you work in City Hall, know that you are 100% included in the plan. Now, you're going to have to understand that there's going to be new standards. There's going to have to be new values. There's going to have to be a new process put together where we explain to everyone where we've been, where we want to go, and how we're all going to get there. Whether or not we talk about the past, we're still going to have to get going forward. Professional development is going to be one of the key things that's going to help us create this situation which we will look at as an urban center of excellence. From the ground up, we will be building our people. We will be building the city. We will be gaining our reputation back as a capital city. Yes. And we will be capitalizing on everything that we currently have here to make us much better than what people see us. But we can't do that if we don't have true, honest integrity sitting at that table.
Thank you. Candidate Gasioro.
Trenton is our capital city, and it has many challenges, but it has so many potentials. Our streets are filled with potholes. Our alleyways are strewn with garbage and debris. We have 1/5 of our homes are either in foreclosure or abandoned. We have 70% of our third graders don't operate or can't read at proficiency levels. And our public safety officers are understaffed. When I voted for the Transportation Trust Fund in the legislature, the smallest city in my district, Pennington, got $900,000. Trenton failed to apply for the Transportation Trust Fund, so we don't have the money this year to make any infrastructure improvements. I hope to bring my experience of the last 20 years in the legislature to the table and to work with those relationships that I've had on the state and the county and the local level. It's childish to think that the capital city does not work with the state of New Jersey, or it won't work with the state of New Jersey. I have those relationships, and we need to work with the city of Trenton, the state. This city is not just any city, but it is the capital city, and it needs those relationships so that we can work all together, whether it's the state, whether it's the county, whether it's the locals, whether it's nonprofits. And I feel that all of us together, we can lift Trenton together. Now, my opponent says I'm part of the establishment. What it really is relationships, and that's what we need. We haven't had those relationships not in the last couple of administration, but we need those relationships with the state to do this all together. 50% of our properties are tax exempt.
Thank you.
So since he mentioned me, do I get to rebut? Because he did mention me. Right, yeah. So he talked about relationships, and this is a debate. This is not a forum. All right, so, and he talked about two things that we really need to get clear right away. The Transportation Trust Fund, 23 cents tax hike or increase to your gas. He voted for that. November 2016, our state senator, Shirley Turner, said no. If you go back, Trentonian, and you look at how he was quoted, he thought it was a game. He looked at his colleague and said, we probably won't get reelected for making this decision. That's what it says in the newspaper. You can check it. Now that's interesting, because now he wants to say Mayor Eric Jackson and his staff didn't get it done. It was that important. It was very controversial. You should have attracted assemblymen if you really wanted us to benefit from your sensitive vote that you laid out.
Well, folks, infrastructure improvements don't fall from the sky. Just drive down West State Street or any street in the city of Trenton, you'll see potholes. They haven't been filled. The Transportation Trust Fund was designed to make the money so that we can pave the roads, repair the bridges, and make those infrastructure improvements. Paul feels that we somehow magically will get that money. We don't.
That's
this
not
city
what I
is
said.
drunk.
What
This
I
city
said was that
is
you failed to
drunk.
track it.
Yeah. See, this is
failed
the
to track
this
it.
is the bully again.
Listen, hey, lady.
Why don't we be respectful, Paul?
You
It's enough
failed
of the
to
bullying.
track it.
Wait. Hey, I need to have a Mr. Rogers moment, please. Can we be neighbors up in here? All right, so let's not react. We're going to have enough time to do that. We need to get through these questions, and we want to make sure that we're not snarking. All right? So, Mr. Gutierrez,
Yes.
and then let's move on to the next question.
Yes. Yeah.
Excuse me, church. Thank you.
But the bottom line is the Transportation Trust Fund was designed to make those improvements. We have the third lowest gas tax in the nation, and there was no other way to get infrastructure. We have 20,000 state workers who drive into Trenton every day. They cause these potholes. So it's up to the state to provide us with the Transportation Trust Fund dollars. The alternative is to raise your property taxes, and I didn't want to raise your property taxes. I made the tough decisions. The Transportation Trust Fund, in the end of the day, will provide infrastructure improvements, but we need the competency in City Hall to make sure we apply for those funds.
Next question. For candidate Gutierrez, besides hiring a new director, what are the first three things you would change in the police department and why?
We do need a new director. We need a new vision, and we need a new department. We only have 290 police officers. In our heyday, we had as many as 400. And if we want to get back to, and there's too much friction between the police department and the neighborhoods and our young persons. We need to find the money to hire more police and be reflective of our neighborhood. We have enough young people who are without work. I was at Isles Youth Build the other day, and I asked them, how many in this room would love to be a police officer or a fireman? These are the top paid positions in this town. Majority of our budget goes to fire and police. So we want to hire more of our citizens to become officers. We have to find the money, and that's also working with those relationships again. We have to work with the state, but we need to get those staffing levels up. But we also need, when we get those staffing levels up, that's where community policing comes in, where the officers work in the neighborhood, walk the beat, and try to build that relationship with the community. Right now, they get out of a police car, within 5 minutes, they have to go back in the police car. This last week, we had a tragedy of a 19-year-old who was shot and killed across from the city park. That's unacceptable. And the police need to have a better relationship with the neighborhoods so that there's trust there. They can help solve these crimes, but also make our streets safer. We can't afford to not do anything. Doing nothing is not an option.
Candidate Perez. Candidate Perez, the same question, sir.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Besides hiring a new director, what are the first 3 things you would change in the police department and why?
Thank you for the question.
Surely.
A lot of us don't realize that the Trenton Police Force is not an accredited force. That's where I would begin. I would begin to bring in a professional that's going to help us put together a true training program, evaluation program, that's going to effectively look at those who provide or are responsible with the charge of keeping us safe, to ensure that they know exactly what they're going to be doing when they get that emergency call, how they handle the situations, what's going on across the country, how are we going to ensure that that doesn't happen here. Through that, you begin to professionalize the force. When we start talking about educating our police officers, we can make those differences by bringing in a consultant to accredit us on a national level. The other thing is that we need to provide opportunities for our children. I've heard everybody talk about, getting new officers and making it look like this and all that. We came up with a program, and I've been talking to some of the educators in this city about creating an advanced placement emergency responder curriculum. And what we want to do is we want to allow or give an opportunity for our youth who are interested in being firefighters and police to actually take courses while they're in high school. Now, this isn't new. It's just we're going to focus on first responders. The other thing that it does is it puts our children back in the race. So now if there's 2 classes per year at 25 students per year, or per class, that's 50 students, potentially right from the city of Trenton. I've heard earlier when somebody said our kids couldn't pass the test. Well, here's a way to do it and make sure that they pass the test.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Candidate Perez. This is a question for you, sir. What specific plans do you have for waterfront development?
There's a lot of talk about the waterfront development of this city, and having traveled in many different places, I can tell you that the one that's been on the books for about 25 years is actually a good one. All we need to do is take a look at it and maybe modernize it a little bit, add a couple of things that could enhance it and create Trenton or make Trenton into a destination location. Let's say, for instance, if we could find space and build a small-scale Williamsburg-type village, and we capitalize on the historic value of this city, and then we connect it to the ongoing or the already on-shelf plan for the waterfront here in the city of Trenton. That waterfront plan, if you look at it, is not much different than the harbor or the National Harbor down in Maryland, or the harbor that you see in Baltimore. The issue was, could we close the deal? So we need to have smart people that can come to the table, that can sit down and really talk about how to get these things done, but you have to bring capacity to the table. You can't just say, I'm here and I need your help. You got to say, I'm here and this is what I'm bringing to the table, and we could do that. We could definitely do that. Trenton could be a destination place. and it would probably create, I don't know, maybe about 3,000 jobs if we did it right.
Well, before we could build Williamsburg, we need to get back to the basics and do it right. We have a plan already in place, and that's to expand Stacy Park, the park that used to be from the State House to the waterfront. That's the plan that needs to be implemented. We already had this county executive, Chris Christie. His only proposal was to propose the bridge to nowhere from the State House grounds over 29 and then land in the DNR Canal. That was an $18 million project that could really have been used to fulfill bringing back the park that was behind the state capitol. So we need to get it right on that way. The other thing is that between Row and the ballpark sits the Department of Education and sits the State Office of Internet Technology. Those offices do nothing to the waterfront and do nothing to the downtown. And now that Chris Christie proposed putting the health and ag and taxation outside the downtown, outside the transit center, if we could bring the Department of Education and put that downtown, that would be the impetus for more economic development downtown, that will create more traffic, and do it mixed use, partly residential, partly commercial, and partly state office buildings. That's what we should be doing. And then look at the abandoned parking garage across from Mill Hill Park. Has no economic effect on Mill Hill Park or the downtown.
Thank you.
That's where the state building should have gone.
The next question is for Mr. Gusiar. Do you support the issuance of temporary driver's licenses to undocumented residents? Why or why not?
Well, it's actually my bill in the legislature, and I also introduced a bill. Donald Trump has a proposal to only document on the census, the 2020 census, U.S. citizens. 20%, up to 20% of our residents are resident aliens that are undocumented. If Donald Trump is only counting American citizens, that's going to be devastating for federal aid into the capital city. We can't let that happen. The census is the basis not only of congressional representation, but it's also federal aid. Community block grants are federal aid that comes into the city. So again, if we lessen the population just simply by convenience of Donald Trump, that will be 20% less aid into the city. So yes, I believe that realistically, we should offer driver's license to all residents. Now think about it. That also is a win-win for the state, because then they will have to buy driver's license and pay driver's license fees. They'll also have to register their vehicle in the state, and that is more money in not only to the state coffers, and then we can go as a city, based on relationships, to get more state aid into the city. So I think it is a win-win. Right now, undocumented residents go to Maryland, go to Michigan. They register a car there, where it's easier to get registered. So the state of New Jersey needs to do it realistically and should offer driver's licenses to all residents, not just citizens.
Candidate Perez. Same question.
So the driver's license issue is definitely important, right? We have to have that. Talking to the Latino community, I can tell you that some of them spend up to 2, maybe 2.5 hours just getting to work because of bus transfers and everything else like that. And so it would make sense. It would make the city streets safer. We'll have people who comply with the law, and we'll have a contributing community. So it's that's a no-brainer, right? So yes, I support that.
All right. So the question is to you, Candidate Perez. Recent news reports of abandoned newborns have highlighted a need to educate the community in child health services. Will you or what will you do to expand parental education for residents of all ages and nationalities?
That's a real sad situation, and not only do we need to provide awareness on where to go to health centers and everything like that, but if a young person finds itself having a child and is in desperate need for counseling or is not sure what to do, we also need to advise them where they can go and properly give the child to an agency or organization that's readily available to take care of it. A lot of them just don't know. And it's really a scary thing to be pregnant, be 16 or 14, or even 18, 19, and 32. It doesn't matter. You do need the proper health care, evaluation, coaching through this process. So we have a Trenton Health team right now that works very well with the community. You know, I know several people who sit on the board, and I know that it's a priority to them. Whenever we hear these stories, it really hits home, especially somebody like me. I come from a family of 15. I could not even imagine not having one of my brothers or sisters. You know, and I can only imagine how tough it was for them to make the decision to keep all of us, okay? Well, it wasn't funny if you're living in a very poverty-stricken situation. So this is serious. Those are the kinds of questions that both of us, I think, will tell you that this is necessary. This is important. There's no way that we can use this to try and play, you know, political trickery on this. This is important. We have to focus on it. We have a population that probably is vulnerable more so than others in the county. We need to focus our resources. We need to bring in our subject matter experts, and we need to make sure that we're responsive to the needs of the community.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Senator Garcia.
It is indeed sad when a child is left abandoned by a mother and that she has no other choice. We do have a lot of problems that we need to deal with, and we need to have a social services liaison from the city to make sure that we are taking care of our children and children who are having babies. And a lot of it stems from the lack of viable programming. For instance, all 4 of our branch libraries have been shut down. There's little after-school programming. There's little opportunity. There's little drug treatment. And we have to get it right as a city. We can't afford not to. Too many of the babies that are being grown up in the city of Trenton are left to their own devices, and they don't have the awareness and the ability to pull themselves from poverty, and they feel that it's just a hopeless situation. And if they do have mental health issues or do have opiate issues, they tend to do the last resort, and that's abandon of the child. That should all affect all of us. That should be, all of us should be part of the solution. And it goes back to having an education, having mental health services out there, having the counseling that we can lift all of our residents up. And if they have to make that drastic decision, there'll be an agency or a person that they could turn to, whether it's a nonprofit or clergy or the churches. We all have to be in this together, and it is a tragedy that can be avoided.
I'm going to thank you. I would like to ask that both of you put your microphones in the stand. We're having some problem with the signals in here. Given the electronic stuff, you know, things happen. So I know that you're animated, but if you would just make sure that you keep those microphones in their place. And now, next question. This is to candidate Garcia. Can you or can the hotel be saved, or should the building be used for something else? And can the city achieve real revitalization without a hotel?
Does it go to me?
You got to no, leave the microphone.
Oh, leave
but
it
it's
in the
you,
microphone.
yes.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't carry it around and walk
Thank
around.
you.
Okay,
It was like
yeah, it is. It's a tragedy that the hotel has gone into has been shut down, And it's also been exacerbated by Governor Christie's plan to close the health, agriculture, and the taxation buildings. And if you talk to an urban planner, they'd say, well, put the new buildings downtown or in the transit center. If the buildings went in the downtown, that means there's the traffic that could, and also the conference space to utilize that to that hotel. Now, Paul originally was for putting the buildings downtown, but he went with the suburban laborers endorsement, and now he's against that plan. We need to work with this administration and make sure those buildings are downtown because there's no traffic for this hotel. That hotel should be viable. That downtown needs to be viable. And we as a city have to work with the state government. We have to have those relationships to make sure that the downtown is viable. Otherwise, you might as well move the Department of Education in the hotel and then recreate the hotel on the waterfront. But Trenton has to have a hotel. It's a lifeblood to the arts community that's emerging, to the music scene that's emerging. It all has to work, but we need a hotel. That's part of, we have a Starbucks, and now we just need the hotel. And we all need to make sure that the downtown is an economic, viable lifeblood to the rest of the city.
Candidate Perez.
Okay. So here's the issue that we're having. We keep talking about onesies and twosies, and we're not talking about a real economic development plan. 1. 2, we keep talking about revitalizing our city, but we're not talking about how we move people around the city. 3, the hotel is owned by someone who has lost interest in our city. What we need to do is get an interested party to come in and purchase that thing and restart it. All right? It doesn't matter where you put a building. If the city is safe, people are going to walk distances. Okay? So here's what happens. In executive planning, what you do is you figure out where's the problem, and you go and you address it. And when the people inform you what the problem is, and you understand the problem now better because the subject matter experts or the people who have more control over the asset has explained it, you move on because you don't want to spend any more money on it or more time on it. This thing about these two buildings has been a cornerstone in Mr. Gusara's platform. You know, and it's a good thing because it keeps them in play. But we don't need just two buildings. We need a city to be developed. We need a whole downtown to be developed. Right. We need a city that's safe. Yeah. We need investors to come in here and really help us move this city forward. Not one or two things, you know, because they moved it, 2 feet away, now people aren't going to walk. How many of you really believe that? You know? That's interesting. That's interesting. You know, that's interesting. And then the other thing is, when you develop a downtown, and I've seen this done, you develop a downtown and you got a whole bunch of businesses all over the place. You're not going to just say, well, I'm only going to stay in this little block right here. You will if you don't feel safe.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
Do you know where they're putting the taxation? Stand downtown, look at the Department of Labor, and the proposed taxation is on the other side of the Department of Labor. That makes absolutely no sense. And no, Paul, no one is going to be walking around the Department of Labor uptown to come because they won't have enough time. And you want your state workers to have their lunch break. You want them to have a break. The other thing is that...
Hang on, please. Please. Please.
The compromise was that they were going to allow mixed use at that Department of Taxation. That means that's their cafeteria, and that it's going to be open to the public. But there's little doubt that no one is going to go venture down around the Department of Labor, on the other side of the Department of Labor, to shop somehow and then come back to downtown. What we need to do is Governor Murphy has to get it right. And it's a shame that Paul and I couldn't have been on the same page. We were at one time, and we could have been in unified voice and said to the governor, you got to change that plan. You have to make, this is a once-in-a-generation
Thank you.
$250 million infusion.
I hate to be rude,
Make
y'all.
it work.
But that red card, wait. Next, go ahead, bro.
Okay, so once again, here we are. We have a new governor in. We have a cash-strapped state government, right? Because all of you guys know that, right? They just sent out a letter that says that there's a complete freeze on hiring, right? Now they're facing a government shutdown, right? And we're going to ask them to just give up free money that they've already invested. That's one. And two, really what we should be concentrating on is how do we properly give them the resources that they need in the locations that they're going to be in. If you're going to build there, then why don't you just start saying what we need is more retailing space. What we need is more parking. What we need is a safe city. What we need is a clean place. That's what the mayor does. You know, the mayor doesn't keep going to the state government and saying, "Mother, may I?" You know, we need a leader.
Thank you.
We don't need a supervisor. And by the way,
Well,
Chris Christie is gone, in case you don't know that.
Thank you. Thank you. Candidate Perez.
Yes.
Should Trenton serve as a sanctuary city? Why or why not?
Absolutely, and it already is operating at that way. Here's what we need to do. We need to educate our undocumented population in what rights they have as a population, one. And then two, what we need to do is we need to make sure that any federal law enforcement official or investigative agency who wants to conduct any business in our city comes to us first. Okay, you cannot come into our jurisdiction to conduct federal investigations without us knowing it first. All right? Now, the only way that they can get away with doing that is if they tell you that they're conducting some kind of confidential or secret investigation. But if what they're going to do is come in here and conduct investigations and try to pursue the undocumented workforce, especially those who are contributing to our community, then we're not going to allow that to happen.
Thank you.
Paul, at the NAACP forum, you called for military-style policing. And I don't know how you're going to have a sanctuary city with military-style policing. And that's documented. And don't believe me, read the transcripts, folks. But this is the reason why we need to give driver's license to undocumented residents, and we need to tell Donald Trump, another inexperienced chief executive, we have to tell Donald Trump, hands off the census, count. We need to count everybody in to make sure we have federal aid and to make sure that our representation is kept up so those undocumented residents are fully represented, not only in the state legislature, but in the congressional delegation.
So here's what I would say. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Look it up, Paul. Look it
Because
up.
that's not what I said.
Oh,
Look
whoa,
it
whoa,
up.
whoa,
That
whoa,
is
whoa.
not what I said.
I hope we're fact checking.
hang on.
Okay, we're trying to have a
Church,
decent debate
brothers,
here.
Excuse me.
Get it right, because
Excuse-
that's not what I said.
Hang on. What we want to do is we want to keep this in a Mr. Rogers, can't we be neighbor kind of way.
Too late.
And
No,
we
no,
are.
I'm being for real. Because listen, babies, we only have a limited amount of time. We don't need to be smacking one another up in here.
So you know
You know
what?
what I mean? So we're gonna let you just, here we come.
So you know what's so important is right now, with the situation that we face in this city, for someone who's been representing us for 22 years, and then what we're doing here is we're playing partisan politics. You know, I have no connection to Christie. I have no connection to Trump. But this is what you're talking about. You know what I mean? I can say that you probably have more pictures with Christie than I do. But does that make you a Christie supporter?
Well,
I
you
don't
try to
think
do
so.
that in your mailing that
No.
you put anonymously out.
You see what we're going?
See that?
Hey,
You
listen.
see that?
Hey, listen. I'm gonna claim moderators' rights up in here if we're gonna keep on going back and forth like this. So let me move on to the next
You gotta
question.
you gotta let me finish
Next
though,
que-
because all I was going to say is this:
No, listen.
what we need to do is, I get to talk, right?
Voters,
Okay.
babies. Listen, we're gonna move on.
So
Next question.
so we do have to listen.
Hey, ho.
Please.
Next.
Yeah.
Look at this. Is like let him finish the punch, okay? Here we come.
Okay.
Go ahead, brother.
I'm good.
He said, we're good.
Thank you.
We're good.
That's right.
What type, this is for Mr. Gusiara. What type of businesses currently absent from Trenton would be successful here, and what will you do to attract them to the city?
That's a great question. You can do the 30-second pitch for Amazon by, we have 4 train lines, Amtrak. Okay, could I start again?
Wait, hang on. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, we don't need a Kanye West moment, yes? Are we good? Are we good? All right, so let's move on, brother candidate Gusiara.
We have 4 train lines, Amtrak, New Jersey Transit. We have the light rail. We have SEPTA. We have waterfront property. We have 5 universities within 10 miles of here. We have an educated workforce, and we're the capital city. We're directly halfway between Philadelphia and New York. This is an ideal city for economic opportunity. And we need to reach out and in the outside world, but we need to get the basics right so people have the confidence to invest in here. It makes no sense coming down Chambers Street and seeing McRae's laundromat with the roof caved in and abandoned properties. We have to get back to the basics, take care of those abandoned properties, take care of the potholes, take care of the trash, and then we'll have a city that we can all be proud in and attract economic opportunities. So I want to look out to the outside world and come into Trenton. Trenton is a place that you should invest in. In fact, there's 4 Roebling buildings that are football field size. They're abandoned. 2 weeks ago, I took investors to come in and look at one of the buildings. They wanted to do a hydroponic field to grow cannabis for the medical marijuana program. That would be ideal, and also that means jobs for our city. The other thing is we discontinued the recycling program a few years ago. We need to start that back up. That's 30 jobs for prisoner reentry. And that's another opportunity. Not only did it make money for the city, but it provided jobs. We can also work with TerraCycle and partner and do more recycling. Tires, do those yogurt boxes, do corks. But we could do so much more in a recycling program and offer more than the county does, and it will be profitable for the city, and we'll be able to realistically offer jobs. But we need to get back to the basics, and that way we'll be able to attract outside business investors.
Thank you. Candidate Perez, the same question, sir.
So the question was, what type of businesses we would probably be able to lure here into the city of Trenton, and we heard the Assemblyman's response, and what I would say to you is that the sky's the limit if we create what I call an urban center of excellence in our city hall. If we create the opportunities for us to provide the basic services at an excellent level, if we create a world-class customer service opportunities there in our city hall, we will have unlimited amounts of potential. We have brown fields that can be developed. We have waterfronts that can be developed. We have the East Ward corridor, industrial corridor that can be built up. We have the hospital in Mercer Hospital that can still be built up. There's so much more to our city. But the reason why they stay away from us is because we're not good business partners. We don't present ourselves in a way that helps to reduce the perception that we're not wanting to do business with the rest of the world. We can do that because we got great people, and I know a lot of people in City Hall who are there wanting real leadership, wanting to be professionalized, wanting to get the opportunity to do their job in a modern way, taking Trenton into the 21st century on how we do business. You know, you always have to have what's called a contracting vehicle that works in order for you to do business with people. If they don't know how to do business with you and you don't know how to do business with them, nobody's going to come. The rest of it is just dreams.
Thank you. Candidate Perez, what are your plans for working with the state and the county to position Trenton for success in the future?
Now, that's probably the most important one because we keep hearing so much about the relationships. You know, Governor Phil Murphy is a good man. I've met him several times, and I had the pleasure of walking with him. But he has an incredible responsibility right now. He has a state that is cash-strapped. He has a legislature that doesn't work with him right now. He has to send out letters telling people that there's a freeze, a hiring freeze in the state. He's facing a possible shutdown come July because the budget can't get passed. The best thing that we can do for the governor is to demonstrate to him that we got his back. Not that we need him so much, but that we got his back. And here's how we got his back. We got his back because we're going to be independent. We're going to be strong. We're going to be self-sufficient. We're going to make sure that what we do it right, okay? We're going to do what we do right. We're going to be responsible with managing our money. We're going to be responsible in the way that we lay out our resources. We're going to be responsible in hiring our people. We're going to be a real partner to the governor. You know, the governor has already taken on quite a challenge with the current state of the state of New Jersey. You know, so we really do have to think about what we talk about when it's a relationship. I've been married for 38 years, and I can tell you my relationship is not a one-way street. You know, it takes both of us. You know, when my wife is down, I got to pick her up. When I'm down, she picks me up. And when Phil Murphy ran, he said he's got your back. We got to have his back. We got to pull on all this talent in this room and make this city work. We need to make sure that this city and the perception that this city can't get things done is just that. Talk. That's all it is. Because we got great people here.
Thank you. Candidate Garcia.
It is important to walk the walk, and I've had dinner over Governor Murphy's house. This Thursday, I'm sitting down. This.
Forgive me. Hang on, y'all. We were doing real good, and then the devil came in. Okay. So let's exercise the devil. Brother, let's get to more time. Here we come.
This Thursday, our legislative delegation is meeting with Sheila Oliver, our lieutenant governor, who sat next to me in the legislature for the last 8 years. It's also important to have that maintain a relationship with the county as well. That's what the mayor needs. The next mayor needs those relationships and not to be alienated. If we're going to be self-sufficient, let's realize that 50% of the property in this city is tax exempt. It's owned by the government, hospitals, or God, the churches. And none of them are paying property taxes. At its heyday, Shirley, Bonnie, and I were able to get $80 million in total state aid under Governor Corzine. That dropped down by a third when Christie took over. He had no relationship with the state. In fact, he called me numbnuts. But that's the kind of, he was no friend to the city of Trenton. Governor Murphy will be a partner, and we need someone who knows the relationships, not only with the state, but with the legislature and with the county, and to make sure that the city of Trenton is adequately compensated. I was proud that Governor Murphy this last week signed my urban enterprise zone bill into law. That will One of Paul's supporters complained about it and then said, that being said, I'm signing up for it. But this means reduced sales tax, so it will mean more businesses that will be able to have incentives for outsiders to come in and shop the city of Trenton.
Thank you.
So it still doesn't materialize to us having the governor's back. It doesn't. I mean, that's a lot of nice talk, you know, and you had a nice dinner and everything like that. But here's the problem.
Well, yours is all talk as well.
Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that for 22 years, we have not gotten this city to a situation where we can be self-sufficient. Okay, that's the truth. That's not me exaggerating. These connections that you keep referring to have been in place for quite a while. Okay, and some of them are still, you know, getting their feet together. But what the people see is what the people see. There's nothing here. So we can keep talking about all the connections, and it's not that I'm trying to be anything other than, guess what? New, different, competent. And when you do that, it makes people scared. And that's okay. That's okay. New and different is okay. Okay? But don't make it into something that it's not. You know? Don't try to use me into different conversations that you want. If a supporter of yours did something, I'm not going to bring it up because I don't want to embarrass you. I'm going to just tell the truth.
Thank you. Candidate Guerrero, what are your thoughts on gentrification and whether it's needed to truly revitalize Trenton?
Absolutely not. We don't need gentrification. We need to lift all the neighborhoods up. And whether you lived in Hiltonia or Houghton Avenue, all of us deserve neighborhoods that are clean, that are drug-free, and that are safe to walk in at night. I did indeed walk on Houghton Avenue, and there was a woman who lived in a row home. Her home was immaculate. She had a beautiful yard. She had a great porch. She sat out on it, and that was the conversation I had with her. Her next door home was abandoned and boarded up. She stated that she could not get homeowners insurance, and that means at the end of the day, the value of her house is deflated. So we need to make sure that those abandoned houses are taken over. We got $11 million from the state, but not one penny has been spent so far. And we have a vacant housing ordinance, and we're not collecting enough of that. If we could leverage both the $11 million, the $400,000 that is in reserve, we could start tackling these abandoned houses and fixing them up. We also should be partnering with nonprofits such as ISLES or Habitat for Humanities. ISLES has a youth build where we can teach our youth carpentry, plumbing, roofing skills, electrical skills, and make sure that they're getting a trade, but also at the end of the day, these houses are being rehabbed. That's not gentrification, that's stability and making sure that everyone, no matter what neighborhood you live in, and if also you can go after and create a program of rehabbing the houses, how many local contractors does this city have? And if we can require that the money used be used for local contractors to have our youth learn skills, it's a win-win for our community.
Thank you. Candidate Perez. Same question.
Yeah, very good. The unfortunate thing for this city is that we have so many abandoned properties that we're probably going to be taking care of that for probably the next 4 years before we even can get into major development that's going to be either borderline or threatening a neighborhood. I don't see that happening. I think what we just need to be is responsible. I do know, because I sat down and spoke to the mayor, that there is a plan with the $11.5 million that's coming from Greater Trenton, who's managing that account. We do have the Isles program that's currently working. It's been working for quite a while, but we need something bigger than that. We don't just need onesies and twosies. We need something bigger than that. We need a real plan that's going to say, again, you know, what keeps us in the back of progress, the progress train, is that we are not prepared to receive assistance and resources that want to be a partner with us. We're just not. We need to create, again, a city hall that is truly functional, that respects its employees, that develops them in such a way that they can seek higher promotions. And if the promotions don't exist in City Hall, you've trained them so well that corporate America will want them. You know, I've done this in the federal government, where we've had individuals who exceed everything that we've done in our operation, and then they end up going to corporate America. In fact, that's what good leaders do. But we have to get our city to a point where we can create the conditions that's going to allow private industry to want to come here and want to develop. And then we sit down at the table with them and we talk to them about our conditions. We set the parameters. We say we don't want to endanger certain neighborhoods. We want to include certain populations of the city. We want to make sure that the laborers and everyone else that comes in has some sort of project labor agreement that includes our young people and the people who live in the city. This is a great city, and we can do a lot with it.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that?
We need to move on. The next question, and we're going to start with Candidate Perez. Both of you, good gentlemen, either moved to Trenton or moved back to Trenton. Will you be staying in Trenton permanently after the election or after your term as mayor? Why or why not?
So everyone knows that I ran last time against Eric Jackson, and Eric Jackson beat me fair and square. He's our mayor, and we respect him. And that time, they asked me the same question: are you going to leave the city? And here I am. This is not just a city to me. This is where I was born and raised. This is where my family is. Okay. This is where people like Carol sitting right there went to school with me, right? So you can't take that away from me. There's probably more people in this room that were not born here, did not go to Trenton Public Schools like I did. I'm a Trenton Public School systems pupil, and I'm an accomplished individual who was taught by teachers in this city. You know, we were taught that we had to be 10 times better than anybody else. Okay? So they didn't tell us don't leave Trenton. They told us succeed. And when they told us that, we took it to heart. Those of us who learned and progressed. I progressed. And guess what? God truly blessed me. And I've had a lot of accomplishments that even the newspaper don't want to report it because they need my Social Security number to figure it out. All right? Because it's been so many of them. But guess what? I'm very proud of those accomplishments. And I want to share those accomplishments with the children of this city. In fact, I do it right now. I'm the president of a nonprofit called Partnerships for Trenton. And each year we send 250 kids from our Trenton public school system to a STEM summer camp. We do that, me and my wife. Okay? Right? So to me, I'm not running for mayor because I need a job. I'm running for mayor because I want to provide the leadership that this city is hungry for. All right? We love this city. My family, 15 of us, have come through here since 1956. I was the one that came back because I chose to come back. And I'm here forevermore. I just bought a building across the street, an abandoned building, fixed it, put a business there. I will be here forevermore.
Candidate Garcia.
I've been coming to the city of Trenton ever since I was a little kid. My father worked for the Department of Health and had a small exterminating business on the side. And I remember when I was a young kid, I went with him, one of his secretaries, secretary in the department, who lived on East State Street. He did an exterminating job. And when we got back in the car, I said, did you get paid? And he said, no, this is not a job that you get paid for. This is a job that we have to help people on. And Arthur Treacher's was my treat that day, to go to Arthur Treacher's on East State Street. I've been working in the city of Trenton since 1989. I also started out as a municipal prosecutor and worked in the city of Trenton. So I know about the cops and the needs and the residents and what it means to fall down and not to punish people, but to pick people up. I established a home here. I live in a beautiful home, and I went in halves with somebody else to buy another home. So I've made my roots in the city of Trenton. This is a great city. I want to see this city succeed. I want to see this city lift all the neighborhoods up, and we can all work together. I believe that I'm in the best position to bring all races and ethnicities together, all religions, all sexes, all sexual orientations. We're all in this together, and I think that this is such a great city, has such potential that we all need to work up, pull our sleeves up together, and work and make this city succeed. So that's my challenge. Whatever happens on June 12th or not, I'm invested in this city, and I hope you are as well.
Thank you. Candidate Garcia, where do you stand on the expungement of marijuana offenses in the event of decriminalization or legalization in New Jersey, and why?
That's my bill, the expungement bill. I don't believe that someone should be punished for a marijuana conviction. In fact, I don't believe if you have multiple convictions that you shouldn't be eligible for expungement. We have too many young people that can't get a job, are affected by a record because of marijuana. I greatly believe that marijuana is no less dangerous than alcohol and cigarettes. In fact, I think alcohol and cigarettes are worse. Look at the social problems that from alcohol. It's also a way to ease people off of opiates. There are returning soldiers that come with PTSD. I believe there's a PTSD in some urban areas where kids are afraid to go out because there's gun violence or violence in their schools. A lot of elderly people are afraid to go out at night. My bill, which was signed into law by Governor Corzine, was to create the medical marijuana program. I also have a medical marijuana expansion program, and which we need investors, and that's why we were looking at the Roebling factories, because there's going to be more opportunities for our city. I also believe in adult use marijuana, because this should not be illegal. You shouldn't be punished. So not only should you get an expungement, but we should look for opportunities. The very people that are more likely to get arrested for marijuana should be the population that benefit from the cannabis trade. And it's in line with Governor Murphy.
Candidate Perez.
So this is another one of those no-brainers, right? Having 15 people in my family, I've had the unfortunate experience of seeing some of my family members be arrested for small use of marijuana, and then because of it, take them off track and get opportunities taken away from them. And they're good people. I know them, and I know a lot of the people here. So there's no doubt that it would be a good thing for the city. And as the assemblyman, we expect you to pass bills that would do things like this that would help our community. So I look forward to working with you when I become the mayor.
Next question, Candidate Perez. How severe are the issues at Trenton Waterworks? Do you think the current plan of action is heading in the right direction? And what else can be done?
That's a serious situation that we've been monitoring now for at least the past 3 years. Before anybody started talking about creating bills or anything like that, we stood out there in the cold on Route 29 in front of the water filtration plant, and we told the city that there were ways for us to get involved and put an action plan in place to stop what was happening. Very well documented. After that, there was a flurry of action from our representatives. So here's the issue. The issue is you don't know exactly what they're doing until you get in there and see it. We only hear what they're saying right now because that's when the news gets a hold of it. We need to see the entire contract. We need to understand the intent. We need to understand what is the deliverables that they're asking these so-called subject matter experts to come in and do. We all are concerned about the water safety of this city. I can tell you this, as a former expert in emergency management, we don't have to wait for the state to give us permission to tell people that there's a problem. We don't. Don't let anybody tell you that. We have a responsibility as a city to put together an emergency notification system ourselves, and we can let the people know that there's an issue almost immediately. We also need to have a contact advisory sheet that immediately connects us to those who we provide services to, so that they can know also in a timely manner if there's an issue. We know that the critical infrastructure known as the waterworks is in dire straits. We've heard the stories about 66 positions not being filled. We heard the story about the limiting capabilities of or restrictions of the MOU in hiring people. We've all heard the stories about hiring the professionals at the correct levels to conduct the expertise that we need, but we need much more before we go out and talk about something so critical.
Thank you. Candidate Garcia.
I was here when the proposal was to put the waterworks up for sale, and I came out strongly against it. I believe that the waterworks is an asset. It could operate at a profit, and it's an asset for the city, and it should remain an asset to the city of Trenton. Unfortunately, after Tony Mack and when Governor Christie came in, he took away the capital city line item and said if you want any more state aid, you have to enter a memorandum of understanding with the state, meaning that all new hires, whether they were a garbage collector or a director, had to be approved by the state. Deliberately, the Christie administration did not approve any new hirings at the waterworks. They created the problem that had low quality and not enough workers at the waterworks, and then their proposal was put the waterworks up for sale. And I fought the Christie administration, and good thing he got sunsetted where he deserved to be. We need to work, and now Governor Murphy, I've called for Governor Murphy to lift that memorandum of understanding. And that's why we have to get it right, because the governor is watching. He's going to decide whether to lift that or not so that the city of Trenton can have its own destiny and hire competent people to run the water department. Right now we're under a management contract for 1 year. I say after the 1 year is up, the city of Trenton should fully take over the Department of Waterworks. Also, we've been under order by DEP to cover the reservoir for security reasons. I propose that when we do cover it, we put a solar paneling over it so that it pays for the covering, but also is able to generate electricity.
Thank you. Candidate Guerciero, you give me that look.
Oh, no, it's
no,
fair.
No, it's my brother, Perez.
I'm just sitting here.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Understanding Trenton, this is from you candidate Gociaro. Understanding Trenton's financial challenges. Should the city prioritize hiring more inspectors before hiring more police? Why or why not?
Absolutely. When getting back to the basics, let's talk about parking meters. There's a parking meter across from Starbucks that's permanently green. There's another meter that's broken when you even try to put a quarter in, and it just is frozen, doesn't move, but stays red. You go up Market Street, there are posts but no meters. Within the first 100 days, I am going to call for replacing all meters in the capital city so that they make money for us. That means more money into the city coffers. So we have to get the basics right. Inspectors, every time they go after an absentee landlord or an illegal dumper, that means with the fines, that goes back into city coffers. We don't have enough city inspectors to go after the illegal dumpers. And I also propose that we have prosecutors and judges that will not only enforce the law, but assign maximum penalties for illegal dumping. It is no use in the East Ward when you go down Kyler Avenue or Garfield or Cleveland and see the illegal dumping, the television sets that are dumped there, the construction debris. That neighborhood does not deserve to be a dumping ground for the city. And what we need to do then is to offer a bounty for those complaints. Give the homeowner a portion of that fine, and then it's a win-win. Not only does the homeowner get a reward for reporting illegal dumping, but the city also will get money from the fines that it collects. So yes, we need more inspectors. That should be a priority. We need meters. That should be a priority. The next mayor has to find ways to enhance the city coffers, or otherwise, if the state is not going to kick in what we deserve, then we're going to have to raise property taxes, and that should not be any resort where we pay enough taxes.
Thank you. Candidate Perez. Same question.
Absolutely. Now, what the Assemblyman was describing to you is found in my Urban Center of Excellence, and what it's called is a fee-for-service operation. So what happens is when we're called out to do something, we get to charge you an opportunity or a fine, and then that fine is then used to circulate or create a thread that's going to allow us to hire people. If we have a developer, and we have a whole bunch of them where we designate these big buildings and they sit there for a long time, and they're waiting for, their architectural plans, they're waiting for zoning laws, they're waiting for all these things, and they're paying money out of their pocket, and it can go, a month, 2 months, sometimes 3 months, or even longer. If we create a fee for service where we allow them to expedite the process, a lot of these developers will give us that money. And with that money, we can start hiring more inspectors and putting people out into the streets to help us out. But the question was, do we choose one over the other? That was the question. So I'll go back to this. For a long time, I heard different numbers when it came to the law enforcement makeup of this city. I heard at one time that it was 177 officers. I heard that it was about 225 officers. And then I finally heard the other day when I sat with the mayor and his director that there's actually 290 officers. That's a big number that we didn't know. So an executive, what we would do is we would then say, where are they deployed and what exactly are they doing to keep us safe, right? So and then my job is to come up with a security plan with the next police director that's going to be unobtrusive and keep us safe.
Thank you. Candidate Perez, is it important for police and firefighters to maintain permanent residency in the city? And if so, will you work to make that a requirement of employment?
I think right now, for the first year of a law enforcement official, you have to live in the city. After that, you have the the ability to move out the city. So that's where we're at right now. And those who live outside the city won a case where we can't force them to come into the city. You know, what we want to do is we want to create a city where people want to live in. You know, so if we start making it safe, if we clean up the city, you know, if we start managing in such a way that people have confidence in what we're doing here, if we start luring in partners from big business and from government, other government partners, and small business, because we have a lot of small business people here, professionalizing even that force through the creation of a small business office in City Hall, we will start seeing that there's going to be a lot of people who want to live in the city of Trenton, not just law enforcement people. You know, we're going to start seeing that people are going to want to come back into the city. There's a lot of people that I run into on a daily basis who love this city, who have a connection to this city. But because of many different reasons, they don't want to come in. It's my job as mayor to sit down with the experts, whether it be the education system, whether it be the law enforcement officials, whether it be subject matter experts in how we make the city run, or business professionals, to make the conditions or create those conditions that's going to have people want to come back and be a resident of this city. No mayor should ever have to force somebody to live somewhere where they don't want to live. That's just not a good way to go. And I can tell you again, being married 37 years, you know, you can't force my wife to go nowhere unless she wants to go. And you got to take in consideration that these guys have families. They have children, you know. So I know that we want the law enforcement to be here with us. I know that they should be contributing to this community. But it's the mayor's responsibility and those who work with them to create those conditions that makes them want to come back and be good neighbors.
Thank you.
When Christie Whitman was our governor and the Republicans were in control of the legislature, they got rid of the residency requirement. And that's the reason why city police don't have to, and fire do not have to live in the city of Trenton. And it's going to be really difficult to get the toothpaste back in the tube. So what we have to do is be creative. And there are officers that do live in the city of Trenton. They should be rewarded for it, whether it's overtime or other contractual arrangements we can make. We can offer tax abatements. We should have a priority to have police and fire live in this city, and we should do all we can to encourage them to come into the city of Trenton. I see we have the police chaplain here. We can't pray for them, or we can pray for them to stay in here, but we have to do more. We have to create real incentives for police to stay in the city. And I agree with Paul. We have to get back to the basics, and we have to revitalize this city so that they're proud to stay in this city. But we also should be offering these incentives, whether contractual or otherwise, to reward the officers that do remain and live in this city.
Next question, Candidate Gaciora. What social justice issues are a priority for you? And if elected, what will you do to make Trenton a more just and equitable city?
One of my jobs in the legislature, I sit on the Governor's Advisory Council on HIV/AIDS, and I see too many people that don't have access to medications, opiate abuse, and it really becomes cyclical, whether persons go on, don't have the medication, don't have the options to get fully treated, and don't have drug treatment plans available. The other thing is that we have to handle the prisoner reentry issue. When someone is released from prison, they come to the city of Trenton and other urban centers around the state. So we have to provide opportunities. And one of them is a job. And if you talk to them, and I have, they just want an opportunity. They want to come fully back into the city. They want to look for expungements, which we should be helping. But if we can restart the recycling program, that means prisoner reentry jobs. And otherwise, they'll just go back into the same pitfalls that they were unless we deal with that issue. So we have to be compassionate. We have to lift all the communities up. We have to lift all people up. And I look forward to working on those issues, just like I have in the legislature.
Thank you. Candidate Perez.
I would like to focus on preventative measures so that we don't have so many things happening in our community to our people because they weren't aware of something or they weren't provided the opportunity to do something. And one of the most glaring ones is that the Constitution says that we are guaranteed a good quality education. So what I would do is I would talk to the governor about ensuring that that happens in our community, because that's probably where our children are being lost the most. You know, what's the difference between us and the communities outside of this city? A lot of them have the extracurricular activities that go on. A lot of them have, you know, the intramural sports going on. A lot of them have the correct amount of teachers and instructors in the classroom to keep them engaged so that they can avoid and be smart about unscrupulous people who want to do harm to them. We need to start thinking about preventative measures. Now, there are individuals and people in our community who have crossed the law and are in trouble. So we do need to pay attention to that, but we really need to get serious about how do we stop it from happening? You know, why is it happening? You know, when you hear the statistics that the Assemblyman used earlier, when our child starts reading on a different level and no longer in the race of life, we need to be serious about what we're talking about. So if I'm sitting with the governor and I'm talking about, you know, advocacy on behalf of our people, I'm going to say, listen, the most important thing to me right now, man, is that we get this right. And education is the key to life. That's what got me here. And I'm very proud of that. That's something that nobody can ever take away from you. You know, stick and stones will break your bones, but they can't take your education.
Thank you. Candidate Perez.
Yes.
Would you give us your best idea on how to improve the city of Trenton on any front?
Absolutely. The number one thing that Trenton is going to have to work on is trust. We have a problem with trust. It's okay to be mad at somebody, but it's not okay just to walk away and say, okay, I'm done. That doesn't get you anywhere. You know, we all have to realize that we are living in a very tough situation right now. And nobody, not me, not Reed, can do anything without the other. We can't. You know, and I just said, stick and stones break your bones, but you can't take my education. Well, you can't break me either. So it's okay. Let's be nice to each other. Let's stop telling lies. Let's stop spreading rumors. You know? That doesn't help. That doesn't help our community. It doesn't help our community whatsoever. You know, there's so many rumors out there that's splitting the people for the wrong reasons. You know, and what we really need to do is come together. We need to come together, and we need to honestly look each other in the eyes and say, listen, I got a problem with you, and here's the reason why. We could sit down with a cup of coffee, all right, and then we could talk it out. But we don't need to continue to hurt each other, because in that way we both lose. And if we both lose, we can't build community. And if we can't build community, we can't get back in the game. And if we don't get back in the game, other people are making money off of us. And our children are lost. And we can't bring in those police and fire officials that you want to move in. And that private industry doesn't come back. And you could talk about the bygone days of Trenton all you want to. It's not coming back. It's got to be a new Trenton. And that new Trenton is just like the Assemblyman said. It's all inclusive. You have to be tolerant. You know, not everybody is going to be as nice as you. Not everybody is going to smile when you say a joke. You know, but you have to be, educated and use ethics when it comes to how you talk and relate to somebody. That's what we need to work on.
Thank you.
I'll actually respond to that point. I think deep down, Paul and I like each other in some strange way. I had the privilege and honor of visiting Paul and his wife Janet at their house after they moved in to our neighborhood, and I spent some time with them. And deep down, I know Paul is a nice guy.
And
but
so is Reed, and so is
It is
Reed.
unfortunate that politics brings the worst of us. It is a blood sport to the degree, and I know his side is just as passionate as my side. But at the end of the day, yes, we all have to come together as a community. We all have to work on the challenges that Trenton faces. And so I do hope on June 13th, this community will indeed. Thank
he's
you,
right.
but it's June 13th is
He's
the
right,
next
June
day.
13th.
June 13th is the next day.
Oh my.
See, you can't even you can't even work with these guys. You try to be nice. You know, just look at fans of Blogger. You see all the vitriol, all you want on there. But at the end of the day, the next day after the election, which is June 13th, we need to come together as a community. That's my point, Paul. And I hope anyone on my side is not bitter for my failings if I am not fortunate enough to win. But this is bigger than the both of us, this race.
Absolutely.
And this is the capital city. This is a spectacular place to live, and it could be so much better if we all put our heads together. That's my point.
Hey. Can we have another round of applause for these two candidates? Good gentlemen. And now, for your closing remarks. Aha.
I thought that was the close.
No, that wasn't it. Yes. Beginning with you, Mr. Gusiero.
Oh, what?
Read. Closing remarks.
I'll be real brief. This has been an exciting venture for me and for my friends and people who are dedicated to making Trenton better. That's why they got involved. And I really am especially proud of all the candidates, all 7 mayoral candidates. I think they gave their blood and their sweat and their tears to improving the city. And also the council candidates. I actually became best buddies with Dr. Shirley Gaines, and we climbed a swing set together. And it's the little things that make this city into the spectacular city that it is. So again, on June 13th, the next day, I'm sure we're all going to laugh and cry on June 12th, but on June 13th, we really need to come together as a community, and I hope so. Just thanks so much for listening to me and my opponent. But God bless everyone, and I hope that the city of Trenton is better for it.
Yeah, it is. It's very important that we pay attention to what we're about to do here and what we're about to embark on. This is probably one of the most important moments in the history of this city for all communities. And we spoke just now about the issue regarding trust. You know, when you have a population that's 52% of the population and you don't have somebody who is representing your community standing up here, it's an issue. It's an issue that really needs to be addressed. So when you look at that, you need to make sure that you understand that both of us can be trusted. And that both of us want the best interests of this city. And that's why we're saying we need to come together. This is the most important moment in the history of this city. The decision should be made on qualifications. Have you ever run an organization this size before? Have you ever managed a budget this size before? Have you ever managed personnel this size before? Have you ever been in charge of emergency management before? All of these things are very, very important when it comes to making your decision. You didn't hear Reed say, vote for me, and you won't hear me say, vote for me. What I will say to you is, look at us. review our files, look at our qualifications, and make your best decision. Whoever wins is going to be your next mayor. And the next day, we're going to have to come together, just like we said. This is what's important. Emotion is tough because sometimes it makes you feel a certain way. But realism is the next day, we're still facing the murder rates. We're still facing the troubles with the school system. We're still facing unemployment. We're still facing filthy streets. We're still facing a government that needs to work. This is what we're here for. This is exactly what we're here for. So I hope that you can come to that conclusion. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we wish to thank the Trentonian and Mercer County Community College for hosting this debate. Our thanks to the candidates and their cooperation. You can continue to explore the candidates' positions by visiting their websites and Facebook pages. Urge your friends to watch the video at www.trenton.com.
That's sad.
Remember,
That's sad.
see something, say something. Now it's your turn to do something. Good night.
Well, you didn't stop him from doing that.
Stop him doing what?
I'm not going to argue with you, Pastor, but
I'm not going to argue.